I might put all these videos together at the end of the month and make a super video.
When your palettes are full and your shadows are dull, 5 single shadows a day. When your collection's huge but your time is used, 5 single shadows a day.
I have a lot of problems. One of them is, for the past couple years, I've been posting every day in December, and I just wasn't sure if I had it in me for this year. Another problem is, I've been talking about doing a big single shadow declutter for like probably a year and a half at this point, but I've been so overwhelmed with my collection that it just hasn't seemed feasible to like sit down and do like one big video where I declutter a ton of my single shadows. But then it occurred to me, what if the solution is the combination of those two problems? What if throughout December, I break down my single shadow decluttering into just doing 5 a day and see where that leads me? So that, my friends, is the plan. I do have some other content already filmed, so I'm not only going to be posting those, but the plan is that most days in December, I'll have a little bite-sized video where I'll be telling you which 5 single shadows I'm decluttering that day. I imagine most of the time it'll be overhead and I'll be swatching and figuring out what I want to declutter. Some days I might just come to you and say, these are the 5 I want to declutter. We'll kind of see how it plays out. But I'm really excited because I feel like this is the solution. I don't have to worry about sitting down and decluttering 100, but if I do this for 20 days, that will be 100 single shadows decluttered. So I am going to declutter 5 single shadows in this video, but let's start with a quick inventory and overview of my single shadow collection. In my last room, I had really good storage. I had like a nice shelf in my desk where all of my palettes fit really nicely. In this room, I have a different desk and it's just not as conducive with the palettes. So I've been having all of these palettes on the floor and I'm really excited to condense them. So today I went through all of my palettes and I have approximately 559 single shadows spread out in 16 palettes. You can see the remnants of a once organized palette in some of them. Some of them are complete chaos. So I'm sure some days I will organize to group them together, to swatch them, to figure out what I want to declutter. So I'm sure I'll be much more organized by the end of the month and much more equipped to organize. So enough with the overview, let's switch to my hands and see which 5 single shadows will be decluttered today. Okay, so I wanted to start this off with a bang, with a heavy hitter, and I figured my Cliona palette is a great place to start. As I think I already said, I've been feeling kind of disconnected and overwhelmed from all my single shadows, but my Cliona palette I have been reaching into a lot, and also I recently, within the past month or two, posted a video swatching all of my Cliona shades. So I don't have to like swatch and discover because I already have kind of a good idea of what I'm not reaching for, what I just don't like as much. So let's start this out by finding 5 of them to declutter. Okay, so I've thought about it and I think I'm ready to finally declutter 2 of my oldest single shadows in my collection. 2 shadows that were in my first ever Cliona purchase. These are Oculus and Smolder from the Jeweled collection. These are black base multichrome, so they have a darker base than a lot of the shadows I tend to wear. And comparing them in that video, they're just not as sparkly as newer Cliona shadows are. It's so pretty and this like kind of pains me. But I'm so excited to have an eyeshadow collection where I open up a palette and I want to wear everything. And I don't think I've actually worn these in years. I think the most recent time I did a video years ago, probably 2022 maybe, where I was wearing all of my black base multichromes, and I think that's the last time I wore these. And for a while, I figured I would keep them around for comparison or nostalgia or something, but it just doesn't come up. I just don't need them. Here's my record of them right now, but my collection has grown and evolved, and it's not just a collection, it's where I keep the shadows I want to wear. So I'm going to declutter these 2. Next, I have a couple of interesting neutrals that I've always felt like I should have a strong relationship with, and I just never developed that relationship. This one here is Opulent. This is the older formulation. They reformulated a couple years ago, and I never purchased the new formulation because I never loved the old formulation. I feel like this came out in a time before interesting neutrals were like a thing. Like before all of the brands were releasing really gorgeous dimensional neutral collections. This was like the neutral from Cliona. And it has like a bit of like a mauvey purple base and like a yellow shimmer to it. It's objectively a nice shadow. I like the feel of it. I just never wear it. I have a collection full of gorgeous, amazing neutrals. And even in this Cliona palette, I have a bunch of more neutral shadows like these that I feel like I haven't developed a relationship with yet. Like this one, I tried to have that relationship and I failed. These I just like haven't had the opportunity yet. Or I've been so overwhelmed by everything else that I haven't like wrapped my head around them. But I feel like when I let go of the things that I feel like I'm supposed to like, but they're actually just clutter, it will enable me to like discover what I might love. You know what I mean? So Opulent is being decluttered. Along the same line, I think of Bloodline. Same deal. I always felt like it should be such a me shadow, and it was just never something that I was wearing. Looking at the swatch, the thing they have in common is like a strong yellow shimmer, and that might be exactly why I never connected with either of them. I'm not that big of a yellow shadow person, and I feel like when I do like a shadow that has yellow to it, it's just really specific, or it's like the perfect storm. Because looking at this, I'm like, I love a berry base, but something about this like yellow shimmer with the berry base just never did it for me. So Bloodline is also being decluttered. Okay, and the last one for today, where are you? Here we are. This is Star Cut. I got this in the holiday box last year. I don't know if they released this as a single, but I tried to like this. It's an iridescent shade, and I love an iridescent, but the shimmer just, it's not like enough of anything to me, you know? I love an iridescent that has like a distinct color shimmer to it, or a combination of distinct colorful shimmers, a multicolored sparkle. This just feels like no color at all. Do you know what I mean? It's like kinda gray. In person, it looks kind of orange, but it's not nearly as orange as iridescents that I like wearing in my inner corner that are orange. So it's been watering down my inner corner collection, and it's going to be decluttered. So there we have it. The first 5 shadows to be decluttered: Oculus, Smolder, Opulent, Bloodline, Star Cut, all from Cliona. To 5 Single Shadows a Day presents The Battle of the Blues. I thought it would be fun to isolate some of my blue shadows and try to find 5 of them to declutter. I really love blue eyeshadows. It's one of my favorite colors to wear, if not my absolute favorite. And I feel like sometimes because I love wearing blue eyeshadows, I feel like I should have a lot of them. But if I have a couple favorites that I always wear and I love to wear, I might not need as many as I think I need. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to get rid of things just to get rid of them. If I like them and I want to keep them, I'm allowed to keep them. But right now my eyeshadow collection feels so crowded that it's harder to get to my favorites. So I don't want to keep so much filler that I end up using the filler instead of using the one that I really want to use. So these are the shadows that I pulled out. I do have some of my favorites in here because I wanted to compare, and I have some of them on my eyes too. Let me tell you about that. So 2 of my favorite shades in my collection are Terra Moons The Cosmos and Divina Paleomon. In my head, they're really similar, but there's always been something I'm like, I can't put my finger on why they're different, but they are different, even though they're really similar. And I put them both on my eyes today, which I'm shocked that I've never done before, because what a great way to see the differences. So on this eye, I have the Cosmos, and on this eye, I have Paleomon. They both have a really similar base, this like beautiful sky blue, and they both have similar shimmer. They both have like yellow and orange and perhaps a little green in a harsh light. But the effect of Cosmos is all over more yellow, and the effect of Paleomon is a bit more red or orange. So I like that. I feel a little validated now that like, see, they are different. On the outskirts of my eye, I used Vere from Cliona. This is a shade that was in their holiday box last year. I'm not sure if they brought it back as a single, but it's a really nice shade and it worked really well with a brush. And then for my lower lash line, I used Dark Waters from Luxie. I thought the sparkle might be a little bit more like ingrained in the formula than the Cliona shade, and on my lower lash line, I'm always concerned about not having fallout on my face. And this shade worked really nicely for it. For my inner corner, I used Midnight Tryst from Chambé SD in collaboration with Glam Smitty. So I know for sure the Cosmos and Paleomon aren't going anywhere, but it could be a good like base point to see how other ones compare. So this is Terra Moon's The Cosmos and Divina Paleomon. Some other favorites that I pulled up to the top as well: Divina Midnight Nova and Terra Moon's Stellar Apotheosis. You can see Midnight Nova doesn't have the same like sparkle, and it's different because it's very much pink, but it's so shifty and I love it so much on my eyes. Stellar Apotheosis is more of like a pink red, whereas Paleomon is like an orange red, but the base of these all are very similar, and I feel like the base is what makes me love this type of shade so much, and the high contrast. I love a shade with high contrast, especially from cool and warm colors. So next is where we're actually getting into it, because I knew coming in, these are just kind of like examples and they're not at risk of being decluttered, but a lot of these I'm not sure about. Cliona Diadem and Cliona Hilt. I've had Diadem for several years now. I believe I bought it during the big Cliona expansion in like 2022. And it seems like the type of shade I should like because it has a similar base, but something about Diadem always just felt a little bit brighter, and I could see in the swatch it doesn't have as much contrast to it. The sparkle in it feels a bit more neutral. It feels like silvery, whereas all of the rest of these have like a clear, warm tone sparkle to them. So Diadem is going to be my first declutter. Hilt is an interesting shade because it's not as sparkly. I know people love this shadow. It's like a cult favorite from Cliona. I purchased it not too long ago and I was like a little bit surprised when I first put it on that I didn't like feel the magic of it. But because it's such a cult favorite, I do want to give it more chances. This has been a bad year for me for experimenting because I've felt so overwhelmed with my eyeshadow for so long. But I feel like once December's done, once this process is done, I'll be able to do a bit more experimenting with my shadows. I'll be able to try Hilt as an accent for different looks, try it in different ways and see how it goes. And maybe some of the shadows that I decide to keep, I'll reconsider in the future. I'll try out, I'll realize they're not for me, but this round, it's getting through. And maybe the thing to learn is it's like a similar level of sparkle to Midnight Nova, which I don't fault it at all for not having more sparkle. It's like a beautiful formula and it shines the way that it needs to shine. And maybe I could think of Hilt as being like the slightly more orangey version of Midnight Nova. These next three, I believe, are very pink leaning sky blues also. Divina Night Spell, Touch of Glam, Blue Chocolate, Cliona Rex. Yeah, they all are like the same color base. It's crazy that I own so many colors, so many shades with like the same color base, but a little bit different. I think Blue Chocolate from Touch of Glam looks kind of purple in the sparkle, and Night Spell from Divina is a little bit lighter, and the sparkle color looks a little bit closer to the blue, like it doesn't have as much of a contrast. Rex, I don't think this is the best swatch. Let me try to build this up a little bit more, because this one is really pretty and very sparkly. It has that like, you know, that Cliona sparkle to it. Yeah, as of right now, I don't want to part with any of those. So the next row down is a bit more of like a sea blue, I tend to think of it. It's not the same sky blue as my favorite blues are, but they're all in the same family. And in a way, I should be harsher with these blues because I reach for this kind of color less than I reach for the sky blues. So first we have the two that I have on my eyes today. We have Cliona Vere and Luxie Dark Waters. They are very similar. I think Dark Waters is a little bit more blue, but the formula difference in these really helped me out today. I mean, maybe I could have worn Dark Waters in both places, but I really like them. I really like how they both performed, and Dark Waters didn't give me like any fallout. I mean, there's probably some sparkle on my face because I did a very sparkle heavy look today, but I feel like Dark Waters did exactly what I set out for it to do. And the experience of using these today shows me I want to keep them. What a boring battle, right? Next up is Crown Jewel from Cliona. This is another one I've had in my collection for so long. It feels just like a tad brighter than these two. And it doesn't have the same like darker blue to its base. This is like a brighter blue in its base. I never wore Crown Jewel that much. I was never that crazy about it. I think it was just like a little bit too bright for me. And clearly the distinction between like too bright and not too bright is so minute and probably incredibly subjective, but I'm gonna declutter Crown Jewel. It's a funny name because I feel like all Cliona shadows feel like little special jewels. It feels so bold to declutter a Cliona shadow because they're all good. Like, I'm not decluttering it because it's not good. It's just because I have so many shadows that I have the luxury of choice, and I'd rather clear the way to use the shades that I prefer. The next two are depotted from a Sydney Grace palette a long time ago. It was the collaboration with Temptalia, and when I decluttered it, I kept these two shades because I really like them. Blues in the past were hard for me to find in a vegan formula, so it felt really special whenever I came across a blue. And this shade, I always really liked this shade, but the formula feels so icky. It feels kind of tacky. And then this darker blue just felt like it paired with it nicely, but the formula of it too, it just feels so like weird and old, but I think it always kind of felt like that. So this is the lighter Sydney Grace blue and the darker Sydney Grace blue. You know, they're interesting shades. Oh, what am I gonna do? No, I'm gonna declutter them both. I had a moment of panic. I had a moment of being like, oh no, I need to keep this one. But like, it's not the only shade in my collection that's that color. And I know from experience, I recognize it. I know that shadow. Like, there's so many shadows I don't wear because they're lost in my collection. This shade is not lost in my collection. I know very well when I see it that that's the depotted Sydney Grace Temptalia shadow, and I still never wear it. I don't even know what I would want to do with it because I don't like the formula of it that much. I don't really want to wear it all over my eyes, but I feel like the only way I would maybe like to wear it is if I put it all over my eyes and then put a shimmer on top of it. But I'd rather just wear one of these blues than wear this blue layered up. It's been time tested. I know I don't grab for it. I'm not going to suddenly change. And this is the type of shadow I need to get out of the way to clear room to wear the other shades that I like. So yeah, I got through my moment of hesitation. I'm going to declutter both of these Sydney Grace shadows. Okay, we have one more shade left in the palette, and it's the darkest shade. This is Sapphire Sky from Shine by SD. I have a vague memory of wearing this like once and it not being what I wanted it to be. Looks kind of nice, but all these look nice. Yeah, I don't love that swatch. It kind of reminds me of Abrasion from Cliona, which I love and I have. And I do wear that, and I never reach for this, and I don't believe it could possibly be better or even the same as it. So yeah, I'm ready to be harsh. I'm decluttering this one too. And it's a good thing I am, because that's the last shade in the palette, and I wouldn't have made my goal of 5 shadows if I wasn't willing to declutter this. So here are the lucky winners, the keepers, my beautiful shades, the 4 that I knew always would stay. And then these are the 6 that are staying with them. We have Cliona Hilt, we have Divina Night Spell, Touch of Glam Blue Chocolate, Cliona Rex, Cliona Vere, and Luxie Dark Waters. To go with my favorites, which are Terra Moons the Cosmos, Divina Paleomon, Divina Midnight Nova, and Terra Moon Stellar Apotheosis. Being decluttered are Cliona Diadem and Crown Jewel, these 2 blues from Sydney Grace, and Shine by SD Sapphire Sky. I don't think I meant to do that entire video zoomed in, it just kind of happened. I feel so good about this. We are off to a good start. So today we're back in my big ol' Cliona palette. It's amazing that even with one of my favorite brands, with shadows that I love, there's already been a bunch that I've been able to declutter from here, and we're gonna keep that going. So the first one I want to declutter is Shard. This one's a hybrid multichrome. I'm not sure if I have any other hybrid multichromes, and I'm not even sure what exactly that means. But I love the tone of this. I'll give you a nice big swatch of it. It's like a gorgeous bluish purple shade with like a berry base to it. And I always thought of it as like a darker companion to Abrasion, which is one of my absolute favorite Cliona shades. This year I tried them out together and I realized they're so incredibly similar, but abrasion is way more sparkly than shard. My initial thought was like I would layer abrasion over shard, but it just looks like more abrasion. I would only recommend shard to someone who doesn't want really shiny shadows. Abrasion is a glitter multichrome, which in Clionadh standards just means that it's a really sparkly shadow. I love that. I'm all about that. So abrasion's clearly the one for me, and shard I can let go of. Next up we have these two deeper purples. This one is Liquidus. I think both of these were part of like bundle expansions that Clionadh did, and they were part of collections that I had eye swatched. But a deep royal purple, just not the kind of shade that I reach for. And I kind of have problems with the formulas of this shade and the next shade we're going to be talking about. This one, I'm not sure, maybe you could see, it just doesn't look even. I feel like the shimmer particles in this one look a little bit more like glitter particles, and it just feels like its swatches kind of patchy, which is probably more apparent because this one's a darker base. This one looks like it's kind of like a black base, but it's not as deep of a black base or as full of a black base as it is on some of my other black base multichromes. I feel like this one's kind of an inferior formula, and that's not something I often encounter with Clionadh. I feel like their quality is pretty top-notch across the board, but this one just doesn't do it for me. And then the other dark purple is this one, Tiara. This one, when I was swatching it in my big Clionadh swatch video that I posted in the past month or two, I felt like this one didn't spread as nicely as other Clionadh shadows. With most Clionadh shadows, it's easy to like pick it up on my finger and have like a nice, long, juicy swatch. And this one just doesn't have as much to it. Color-wise, I do think it's pretty. I like all of the blue mixed into it, but I feel like when it comes to a blue and purple shadow, I would choose Etched over this one. Okay, that's not the best swatch either, and it's looking very blue there, but you can see out of the light, it goes kind of purple. I would choose Etched over this 100% of the time. If I ever chose Tiara over Etched, I would regret it. So especially for a shade I don't tend to wear very often, I don't want to water down my options. I don't want to risk making the wrong choice. I'd rather just get out the one that I'm not going to enjoy wearing as much. And in this case, it's Tiara. The next one I want to declutter is this pink here. This is Rose Window, and this was in the Holiday Shadow Mystery Box last year. And it's just not a very special pink. I feel like more recently I've been a little bit more picky with my pinks. And I do have a lot of gorgeous pinks. I just can't imagine ever grabbing this pink that has like no oomph to it. There's nothing exciting about it. It's like a hot pink that has some light sparkle to it, but there's like no contrast, and it's not like exceptionally sparkly. Like looking at this hand, my eye keeps on getting drawn back to abrasion. I'm like, abrasion is so amazing. And even though this color is nowhere near abrasion, I would never want to wear this and not wear abrasion. You know what I mean? But for more equal comparisons, I have all these other pinks from Clionadh that I really rarely wear, and it makes sense to me to weed out the weakest of the bunch. As I said, I got that one in the holiday box last year, so it's been a full year since I acquired it, and I have not worn it once. Okay, and last up for today, I'm going to declutter Sterling. I don't remember what I thought when I ordered this one, but I got it, and it's just such like a robin's egg blue type of color, and there's really not much interesting to it. I guess formula-wise, it's nice, it's sparkly, and I do love a cool-toned sparkle, but even just from Clionadh, there are so many gorgeous cool-toned sparkles that I have. One of my favorites is Emblem, which is kind of similar in that it's like minty, but Emblem has a beautiful pink sparkle to it, and in some lighting it has a beautiful shift to it. It's funny that in the swatches they look nothing alike, but maybe that shows that I like my mint to be so interesting it's barely a mint, and this one is just straight up a mint. So today's shadows, all from Clionadh that I'm decluttering, are Shard, Liquidus, Tiara, Rose Window, and Sterling. And you know, this month's only just begun, but I feel like every time I take out shadows from here that I'm not enjoying, I just like the look of this better and better. Next time I'm going to dive into a different palette. I'll probably come back to the Cliona shadows at some point, but I want to get my fingers into some other shadows. So that's what's next up. This gray double-sided Adept palette doesn't have that many shadows in it, but I feel like it's the pinnacle of neglect in my collection, which you may be able to tell from the spillage of shadow that's obvious right when I start opening it. What even is this? Like, most of my palettes are just kind of like the product of what's happened to them recently. I guess this must have been like a mostly matte palette, but this was from like my Perfect Purple single shadow palette that just got stuck in here. And I can tell you that besides from reaching in recently for Nocturne Ash and for this hot pink recently, I have not been using this palette at all. But I don't think it'll be that hard to find 5 shadows within here to declutter. These purples are going to be safe. I really like these shadows. I mentioned Nocturne Ash already. This is like one of my favorite single shadows in my collection. I love shades that are between pink and purple. Oh, these are all so pretty. This purple one here, what even is that? Oh, Touch of Glam Masquerade Hollow. I don't remember when the last time I wore that on my eyes is, but it's gotta happen again soon. So of course Nocturne Ash has a glowing review from recently wearing it. But the other one I recently wore is this hot pink one from Menagerie. This is the shade Lily. It's very old. I was looking to wear a straight up pink shadow the other day, and I was looking through these palettes that, as you can tell, are very unorganized. And I decided to wear this one because I knew it was like just a pink. Like there wasn't any shifts to it. I didn't have to think about it. It was just a pink. And it was very unexciting. The formula just reminds me of old eyeshadow palettes. Like it's kind of gummy. It's not that shiny. And it wasn't horrible. I did wear it. I didn't take it off my eyes, but right when I put it on, I was like, I'm going to be able to declutter this whenever I get up to this palette because I don't really have any interest in wearing it ever again. So Lily from Menagerie is the first declutter. The next easy declutter is this one from Menagerie. This is Snoot, and it's very broken. I do remember enjoying this at some point in the past, but the Menagerie formula, it's very pigmented, and sometimes that's good, but when it comes to this shade, which I like as a crease color, it was always just like a little bit too much. I prefer a crease color that I can kind of like build up a little bit, build up to my desire, as opposed to something that's going to go down super pigmented and then I have to like work with it. So it's an easy declutter because it's broken. I think even if I liked it, I'd probably still declutter it, but I'm definitely not going to miss it, and I haven't worn it in a really long time. I think these other Menagerie ones are going to be safe. Let me do a quick sniff test. Okay, I think they smell fine. I'm pretty sure a Menagerie shade in a different palette smells like anything. I don't think my single shadows should smell like anything, and there's one that I'm like, I think it smells like something, and I'm like, I wonder if all of my Menagerie shadows smell like something. But these seem to smell fine. I don't even know if this should count, but I am going to declutter this shade that is the reason this palette is such a mess. This is Ink Defense from Menagerie. It's one of those like blue-brown pigment shades. I liked it. I didn't love it. But I mean, with this type of shade, you really can't go wrong. Oh, what a mess. I shouldn't have even tried this. Looks pretty nice, right? This isn't even like a swatch, it's just like dumped on my skin. I tried to clean it up a little bit. But yeah, this one, even before it got shattered, I realized I didn't like it as much as I like other kind of blue-brown pigment shadows that I have. And actually, let me see about this one. This is an Adept shadow. They had pretty nice singles for a little while there, and they stopped making them probably in like 2021 or something. It was a more smooth formula. I wonder if it's like kind of dried out because, as I said, it's like more of a smooth formula, so if it lost some of that grip to it, the swatch looks... Oh no, that does look kind of nice. I probably will test this out because I don't think I've worn this on my eyes in a really long time, but it's going to be safe for today. What about this glitter? This ColourPop glitter I remember being really nice. This is the shade Hungry Ghost, and I would bet you money that this is gonna be like a dried out gross mess. I feel like this is already like a graveyard of shadows. Yeah, that is so chunky. You know, it still looks nice because it's glitter, how could it not? But I can tell from the feel of it that it's just dry, loose, and I'm just not that interested in wearing glitter. I remember there was some specific look that I like to do with this. I like to layer it over something, and it was nice, but I think without having that like grip to it, it would just fall right off of my eyes, and I don't think I would like having loose glitter all over my face. I wish I could remember what that was that I was layering it with. I feel like it was an iridescent, like a similar iridescent to what this looks like. Maybe something like Terra Moon's Phoenix? It might have been that. I need to dive into some of my old videos and try to figure it out. A lot of these mattes in here are very nice. I have very like fond impressions of these ColourPop shades. Let's see if they're still doing it. Oh yeah, they're still doing it. Look at those nice, vibrant mattes. Gorgeous. I'm so excited for like having my collection organized again. And I usually don't have like a matte palette. Usually I organize more by brand. But I think this time I'm going to want to have a matte palette. And then maybe then I'll declutter more of my mattes because I'll be able to compare like this orange to a different orange. And if they're similar but one's better, I'll declutter one. You know how it goes. These were kind of like odd man out shadows. This is from Colored Rain. This is Blue Magic, and this is so old. Ooh, it feels really old. It still is like a nice, bright pigment, and I see why I kept it for so long, but I think in the past I really had a feeling of like, oh, I should keep this just in case I need it, then I have it. And you know what I think? It's just not that serious. And even with like BYOPs, which like I haven't done a lot of this year because I've been overwhelmed with my single shadow collection, but I would like to do some more in the new year. I think A, if I need a blue just like this and I don't have it, it's not the end of the world. And also B, even with decluttering this, I'm still going to have such a big eyeshadow collection that I just think it seems impossible to be like, I have 400 single shadows and hundreds more in palettes, and yet I don't have what I need, you know? And that really was why I kept this for so long. And also there was one look that I did with it when everyone was doing the blue look using like the KKW Makeup by Mario palette. Do you remember that before he had a brand, he collaborated with Kim's brand, and there was like one statement blue, and everyone was doing a look, and I think I used this to do my look. In fact, thinking about it, it might not have even been this. I don't know, but my brain always does that. I like hold on to one look I did and I'm like, what if I need to do that again? And I'm like, it's okay, Hannah. I'll figure it out. If I need to do that again, which I'll never need to, I'll figure it out. So I'm going to declutter this. Let's see about this silver. This was kind of the same feeling. This one's from ColourPop and it was depotted from the Smoke Show palette a long time ago. Because it's a nice straight up silver, and I'm like, I should keep this in case I need a nice straight up silver, and I never need a nice straight up silver. I think for a while also I was like, no, this is actually like a really nice ColourPop shimmer, and in this moment I just don't feel that impressed. So I'm gonna declutter this silver. I actually did declutter 6 of these. It felt a little bit like cheating to count this super ruined single shadow as one of the 5 shadows today. But here is the declutter batch. It's Menagerie Snoot, this ColourPop Silver, Colored Rain Blue Magic, Menagerie Ink Defense, Menagerie Lily, and ColourPop Hungry Ghost. And I look forward to cleaning up this palette and no longer have like single shadow dust leaking from it, because it deserves better. It deserves better. Actually, does it? I never really liked this palette that much anyway. Today, let's dive into this palette, which I opened up right before starting to film, and I was like, oh no. Because this is the type of palette I look at, and I'm like, everything in here is beautiful, and there's nothing to declutter. But there definitely is. Because the problem I've been facing is I open up palettes and a lot of shadows don't even look like an option to me. Like if I was deciding which shadow to do my makeup with right now, my eye goes to a handful of them. It goes to this one. It goes to this one. It goes to this one. And what about all the rest of them? Most of the shadows in here are Terra Moons, which, complicated feelings about them aside, they make some beautiful shadows, and I own them. There's also a bunch from Electrum and some random ones all around. I see a good place to start down here. This is a Pretties for Your Face shadow called Cobweb. I found it hard with Pretties for Your Face to know what you're getting before you get it. And I don't even remember what I thought this was going to be, but it's just like a very ordinary champagne. It's a little bit warm, and it's a nice shadow. But this type of shade I really only wear when I'm going to work, and I have a lot more light champagnes that are a little bit more interesting than this one that I would choose to wear over this. So I'm going to declutter Pretties for Your Face Cobweb. My Electrum shadows are so hard because some of them are absolutely amazing, incredible. I love them. I would fight you for them. And other ones, the second I put them on, I'm like, no, this is like too much. The formula is too flaky or the shade is too deep. I'm pretty sure that's the case with Aster, and I bet I could figure it out from a swatch. Yeah, it looks super chunky. It's a really intense shade. I'm still thinking it through. As I'm swatching this, I'm thinking it through. Oh, because I like the color of it. The color of it is right up my alley. Yeah, I'm going to put this one back. I need to try this out before I decide what I want to do with it. Maybe later in the month I'll have a decision. Okay, this just got harder. Oh, this one up here in the corner. This is Pollux from Terra Moons. It's a yellow that has like orange or red shimmer to it, and it's not the same formula as a lot of the Terra Moon shades that I have. And it's funny because swatching it, I'm like, it doesn't look like a matte at all, but the way I think of it is more like a matte with a lot of shimmer, because it's not shiny in the same way that other Terra Moon shadows are shiny, but maybe I just don't have the language to describe it. Either way, it's not a shade that I grab. I wore it a couple times when I first got it years ago, and I was never that crazy about it. I'm going to declutter it. Okay, we got 2 down. I'm overwhelmed. I know I'm going to keep these mattes. I don't wear them every day, but they are unique in my collection. They're pretty bold colors. I think these were like the neon collection. Yeah, it's tough because a lot of them I'm like, I'm definitely not going to declutter, and then some of them I'm like, I probably won't. Is this progress? I know I'm not going to declutter these 10. Oh, what about this? So the thing with the Terra Moons mattes is they're very powdery. It's funny, there's a lot of indie brands that I just don't like their mattes. And I saw someone the other day saying how like brands that press their own mattes tend to be more pigmented, but also more powdery. They have more fallout. And I'm like, how did I never realize that that's like the difference? So of course Terra Moons presses their own mattes, and their mattes are very powdery. I'm gonna declutter this because I have a lot of other dark browns that I would choose to wear over something that I have to worry about the fallout. So this is Chestnut from Terra Moons. I'm decluttering it. Oh, down here in the corner, we have a Luxie one. This is Stormy. And I like the look of the tone. It's kind of like a grayed out neutral, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is one, I think this was one of their last collections before they closed down, and they had very like satiny shades. So yeah, I'm gonna declutter this. Let me add some more to the definitely keep pile. Okay, what about this one? This is Tiny Dancer, which is a very old Terra Moon shadow. It was one of the first ones that I bought, and it's like a straight up kind of grayed out blue. No, I'm keeping this one. I really like the tone of this. What about you? This is Changeling from Sean SD. This was part of the original collaboration with M. Jones 5018 and Bizarre Revolta. Oh, this looks nice though. In real life, I can see like all the different colors in it because it's a multi-chrome. It looks like green and copper and pinkish. So that's kind of like an interesting enough neutral, even though it doesn't look that way on camera. I want to keep it. It's funny, like some of these greenish ones I never reach for, but I know they're really nice shadows and I feel like I need to do a little bit more research before I make a decision. What about this Luxie one? This is a really old shadow. This is Siren of the Sea. I don't know, I kind of like that one too. I feel like I need to test that out. I think this is the hardest declutter that I've had yet. And I can, of course, just like move on to another palette and find a shadow in another palette. But I know from the way that I look at this palette, from the way that like I've opened this up and I'm like, ugh, like I don't know what to do with these. There's more than the 4 that I already picked out that I can declutter. Yeah, this Luxie one, I think this was like another one in that last kind of uninteresting collection, but I like the tone of this one. I like that for like a weird satin lower lash line. Yeah, let me just do some more swatches. Terra Moon's Gamma Ray, Titan, M51. These are such nice shadows. I don't want to declutter these. Electrum M100. This one I'm not crazy about, but I like the way it looks in the pan. And I do want to try it out on my eyes again. It just seems kind of like loose and glittery and like a little patchy, but I'm not ready. And then Terra Moon's Space Case and Bellatrix. Yeah, I like these because they're interesting and shiny and shifty, but they're also kind of light. Terra Moon's Palladium, Big Bang, Mercury, Solar Delirium, Flare Star, Milky Way. You know, I almost feel like I could declutter one of these, but they are such nice shadows. And it makes me just not want to rush into things. It makes me want to like compare those with other ones and make educated decisions. Luxie Gold Rush, Terra Moon's Cosmic Dancer, Terra Moon's Meteorite. You know what? I'm going to declutter Meteorite. It's just like a champagne. And as I've said before, I have champagnes and I'm not that excited about them and I pretty much just wear them to work and I have enough. And I always try to remember the distinction too between like I could wear it to work and I do wear it to work. And the fact is I never reach into this palette and take out Meteorite and wear it to work. I always wear a different shadow to work. So that is the decision. I'll swatch these last 2 for fun because it seems wasteful to end there. Menagerie Main and Terra Moon's Rosette. I feel like I need to try Rosette on my eyes too. So I'm decluttering Luxie Stormy, Terra Moon's Chestnut, Praise for Your Face Cobweb, Terra Moon's Pollux, and Terra Moon's Meteorite. So all this color, and I found 5 pretty neutral shadows to declutter after all of this. Today, I grabbed this sequin palette from Tarte because once upon a time, Tarte had empty magnetic palettes. And for a while, this was where I kept all of my iridescent shadows, and I knew every day when I'm doing my makeup, I would reach in here and I would choose which iridescent I wanted for my inner corner. And a while ago, it became hijacked by non-iridescence. And now it's that palette that I have some iridescence in and some random other stuff. And today something happened. I've said how my single shadows have been in disarray for a long time. I don't have a good organization system. They're all out of whack and too spread out over too many palettes. This morning, as I was getting ready for work and just trying to move them out of the way, I dropped this palette. It like opened slightly and a bunch fell out on my floor, and there were 2 that were damaged. So the first one is this. This is Strobe from Glaminatrix, and my first feeling was disappointment because it looks really nice in the pan. It looks like kind of dimensional and sparkly. I like pushed a bunch of it back in. That's what it looks like. And in that moment, I was like, I have to figure out what I'm going to do about this. I have to figure out if it's worth trying to save, or if it's something I'm just going to want to replace, or what. So I wore it on my eyes today for work. I can insert that footage here. And you know what? I thought it was nice, but I also thought it was kind of average. I think that's the thing with having such a large collection, is something could be a good shadow, but still not worth keeping. And I think the biggest indicator of that was the fact that when I saw it was this one that fell, I was judging it like we had never met before. Like I wasn't judging it as a shadow that's part of my collection. In the past, when I would break shadows, I'd be like, oh no, I'm sad about this because of XYZ. And this, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. So on my eyes today, did it work for work? Yeah. Was it nice? Yeah. But it wasn't anything particularly like groundbreaking or special, you know? I also reviewed the footage where I first tried this out. It was in a Glaminatrix video earlier this year. And I even said in that, I'm like, I like the formula. I see some like interesting sparkles and stuff to this, but I just feel kind of like, about it. I think it looks okay. I have so many shadows that knock my socks off. This one's broken. I'm going to declutter it. And then the only other shadow that broke, not as bad, but I mean, it's still broken, is this one from Pretties for Your Face. This is the shade Light as a Feather. It has some of the sparkles of strobe on top of it, but if we ignore that, it looks like a light pink base. But the reason I always kept with my iridescence is because it has like a teal sheen to it. But because of that light pink base, you don't really see that on my inner corner, but I never reached for it that much because it never really like stood out to me. And this is a shade too. It wasn't on my radar to declutter. I could definitely keep it. It's really not badly damaged at all, but I'm kind of taking it as a sign because I didn't wear it that much. And my goal is to clear out the clutter in my single shadows. I have a teal iridescent from Cleona that I love. It's a shade Brilliance. I don't think they still sell it, but it was in last year's holiday box. And that's the shade that I want to wear as a teal inner corner. Oh, I also have one from Shine by SD that I like wearing as a teal inner corner. And after I finish this process and my shadows are organized again, if I indeed continue having this be an iridescent palette and I have those shades in here, I would always grab for those over this one. So yeah, I'm kind of taking this as a sign and I'm decluttering this one too. I also have some copacetic shades in here. My relationship with copacetic is that a couple years ago, I placed a small order and one of the shades was this one, which is Ball Drop. It's a flaky and it's a really beautiful shadow. And as you can see, sure, like it's a little bit flaky, but it's nothing too dramatic. It has like a beautiful brownish berryish base and this like blue or teal cool sparkle to it. It's so pretty. So because of the success with this one, I ordered more flakies. It might have been the next year. So I ordered a bunch of flakies, even though I had heard from my comments that they're definitely not all created equal. I was like, this one's so nice. I just didn't believe that I would order some and not like them at all. But that's kind of what happened. So let's see what we have. And also because it's been several years, I don't think that they stayed like binded as well. Because the flakies that I ordered were definitely way more flaky than Ball Drop is. So this one's Long Farewell. Yeah, it picks up very chunky. Did you see that? It made like a big wall of flake and then it fell off of my arm onto my surface. It does have a nice reflect to it. It's kind of like a mauvey base with like a cool lavender shimmer, but it's swatched super uneven. I think you could tell like this spot is very heavy and like thick with product. And then where like I stretched out to, there's just like a little bit of sparkle there. I bet this could work nicely as a topper if I wanted it to, if I wanted to like put a sheer layer on top of a look, but that's just not the kind of thing that I do. And if I thought of doing that, I would think of using an iridescent. I wouldn't think of using this. So Long Farewell, I guess it's been kind of a long farewell because the moment I got it, I knew I would eventually declutter it. And there it is. Farewell. Let's see what else we got. Butternut Squash. I did actually just rewatch the end of that copacetic video where I was talking about the ones I liked more and liked less. And this was one that I liked more. I'm just not that impressed by the shade of it. I don't know. I feel like my mind's kind of made up on these anyway because I have the experience of having owned them for years and really never reaching for them unless it came up in like a random palette and I challenged myself to. And I know with a smaller collection, I'll definitely be more likely to use some undervalued shades, but I just feel like this is the shade that I get rid of to get to other undervalued ones, not the other way around, you know? So I do think Butternut Squash made a nicer swatch than Long Farewell, and past me seemed to think so also, but it's just not enough for present me to want to keep it. Okay, and I see one more in here. Yeah, I just moved my arm and like more, more flakes flaked off. This is As the World Falls Down, which was not one that I mentioned as one that I liked best. Yeah, this is very loose and flaky, even like out of focus. The sparkle is really nice. Like it does have that like cool toned, catches the light sparkle. All of these do. I just really don't like the formula. And because it's so patchy and uneven, it would really only work over something else, and it's just not worth it. Again, look how nice Ball Drop is. I want to remember to use Ball Drop more, and I feel like ever since I bought more Copacetic, I've been using Ball Drop less, and I just want Ball Drop to be like my one Copacetic shadow again. So the 5 shadows for today are Copacetic, Butternut Squash, As the World Falls Down, Long Farewell, Pretty Sphere Face, Light as a Feather, and Glaminatrix Strobe. And you know, this palette is definitely still overwhelmed by intruders, and there's probably still a couple more intruders in this palette that I'll be decluttering in the coming days. But for now, it's an improvement, and it's a step towards reclaiming this, having my iridescent palette back again, because I miss it so much. I've gotten used to recently putting on a makeup look and then just like putting on an iridescent that I wouldn't normally choose with the look, just because like that's what's available, that's what I know where it is. And I miss the days of my selection. And welcome to Luxie Week. Okay, Luxie Week is kind of a joke because I don't think it's going to actually take a week. But before me, I have my palette that has mostly all of my Luxie singles. As you might have seen if you've been watching, there are Luxie singles everywhere. They're coming out of my ears. I can't avoid them. But this is the mother lode of the Luxie singles. I really like Luxie. If you're not familiar with Luxie, there's a lot of, if you're not familiar with this going on today, if you're not familiar with the Luxie, they were an indie single shadow brand that had pretty low cost shadows. They were, for the most part, during their run, they were all $3. And I always did eye swatch videos. There's tons of eye swatch videos on my channel, including an 8-hour video of all of them put together that I posted last year. Because there was a lot of hidden gems, but there was also a lot of duds. And every so often I would go through and get rid of the duds, so not every Luxie shadow ever is still in my collection, but their last couple collections were primarily duds, and I haven't done a declutter since they released those last collections. So I feel like every time I open this palette, I just close it, because all of the really nice Luxie shades that I really liked are mixed in with the duds, and it's like too much for me to decide when I'm quickly getting ready in the morning, you know? This will also help me because I just need to reacquaint myself with what I do love. I need to make sure that the ones that I historically loved are still good, because a lot of these shadows are kind of old and they could be like, I don't know, dried out, past their prime. So the plan is today and the next couple days, I'm just going to start from the top down swatching all these. And we'll conclude the video once there are 5 selected to be decluttered, and we'll pick it up again tomorrow. It is in pretty good color order for comparison's sake. Maybe I'll make it a little bit better. That hadn't occurred to me until right now. I'm like, I might as well, since they're going to be swatched next to each other. Okay, I really wasn't being that scientific, and it's kind of like a we'll play it by ear scenario, but it does make sense to have them generally grouped together, and I think they are generally grouped together right now. So let's get started. Oh, this is going to be like a test of how much I remember. I think I'm going to be doing a lot of checking. Ohana, Glitz and Ritz, The Rose,
Euphoria. These are all pretty nice shadows. These are 4 that I have very fond feelings about. This one, this is Glitz and Ritz. It's like very sparkly. I remember when I first tried that and I was like, ooh, because it felt more like a shade from a higher cost brand than a $3 shade. Euphoria was from their black base multi-chrome collection, so this actually was one that was more than $3, and I can't remember exactly how much, maybe 10 or something, but I really liked the tone of it, and it has a nice shift. I had decluttered everything else from that collection, but I kept Euphoria, and I do like it. So far, we are entirely unsuccessful. I'm keeping these 4. Fruity, Pixie Dust, Tequila Sunrise, Shimmy. This is hard. I think I just really like this tone of pink, especially these like kind of mauve-y pinks. The one I would be most likely to declutter would be Fruity. All of these ones, like it's like Fruitti. This whole collection that ended with an I were not very good, but some of them kind of like work as satins. Like, and if I like the color, it's cool to have a satin in that color, and that's what this is to me. So although I probably will declutter other shades in this collection, I could see this one working for like over, like in the crease or something, or a lower lash line. So these are all staying also. I'm looking at the next row too, and I'm like, am I gonna declutter any of those? But I bet after a certain point it's gonna be like, boom, boom, boom. Either that, or I'm just like not in the right mood for this today, and I'm gonna just be entirely unsuccessful. Glass Wing, Licorice Lace, Red Hot, Sugar and Spice. These were all shades I really liked also. Red Hot is such like a different formula because it's very like shimmery and like borderline flaky. And also you could see like the shiftiness to it. It's like a copper to pink, and I see like a little bit of green in there as well. Glass Wing was like one of my favorites in my collection for a while. Licorice Lace is so beautiful. Sugar and Spice is definitely the weakest of the bunch, but I think I want to try it out as a work look because it seems nice. It seems nice and I don't want to declutter it. Jelly Bean, Jawbreaker, Venus, Champagne Punch. I forgot I had so many beautiful neutrals from them. These all do look pretty similar. They all look like a similar mauve base with like a mixture of more yellowy shimmer or more cool tone shimmer. This makes me feel like maybe I should declutter Sugar and Spice, because when it comes to work looks, I don't want something like super intense that's going to steal the show, but I don't need it to be super subdued. I feel like these are actually kind of perfect, and I'm going to declutter Sugar and Spice. So the joy of comparison brings us to our first declutter. 4 more to go today. Many Moons, Caterpillar, Slushy, and Peachy. Caterpillar is so old. That's from their Butterfly Kisses collection, which is like really when I started getting like heavy into Luxie. That one's definitely staying. Many Moons is a shade of orange that I feel like I wear less, but the formula is really nice. Like it's probably one of the nicest ones formula-wise of all the ones we've swatched so far. So I feel like I don't want to just rush into decluttering it. These 2 were from the collection that was more satiny, and both I can get rid of. I think Peachy is probably one of the more shimmery ones from that collection, but the same process of elimination before. I would much rather wear these to work than wear this one to work so I can declutter it. And this like burnt orange, I don't think I have a need for it. So Slushy and Peachy are being decluttered. These 2 little guys right here. Let me just swatch the next 2 instead of swatching 4 because I got a feeling about these, or maybe not. This is Honey and Hottie. These are both also from that collection with the eyes on the end. Honey, I could definitely declutter. It just feels like such an ordinary bronze, and I know that there's other bronzes coming up that are going to be way more special, and I'd rather keep, because I can't keep them all. I won't wear them all. Hottie is a little bit nicer because it has like a contrast to the base. Like it has a little bit more of a berry base. I think I need to try that one out before I make any decisions about it. Or at least like see it next to, like I think this one I might see it next to other shades and be convinced. But Honey can be decluttered. And I think this is where I'm going to deviate from my organization because I don't want to over swatch, you know? I don't want to over swatch when I only have one left to find. And I just want the more gold ones to compare to this one. Gorda Mercy, Honey Pot, Mama Tried. They're all different. This is hard. They're so similar, but they're all different. I feel like all of these do have a nice amount of sparkle. And it's so clear to me that the weakest of the bunch of 5 is Honey. But what's the weakest of the bunch of 4? Is it Hottie? I don't know. Honey Pot feels like a contender also because it's a more flat shade, but it has some really nice sparkle to it, and I feel like I'm not ready to declutter it right now. I guess I'll just move on then. The Monarch, Chocolate Kiss, Adorbs. Why did I think that this would be easy? As I was swatching them, I felt like maybe I would declutter Chocolate Kiss. I know it's one of the newer ones that they had, and the formula feels a little bit more tacky, but I kind of like the sheen in this dark color, and I feel like I'm always looking for dark mattes to use, and this would definitely work in place of a dark matte. But the hard thing is that the reason I wanted to do this declutter is because I know that when I have too many options, I don't use any of them. I know from experience that Luxie closed down like a year and a half ago. I've barely touched the shades in this palette because I open it up and I'm like, no, it's just way too much going on. Maybe I need to look at this from a different lens and be harsher. I feel like sometimes when I declutter, I'm looking for the things that are bad. And that's not really the question. Like, what if I ask myself, which shades would I be excited to wear today? And maybe I need to be a little bit harsher with that. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do for today? I'm looking at all these shades and I'm thinking what I'm excited about. And I came back to these 4 shades right here that I'm like, oh, these are all 4 nice shades that I could wear it to work. Why do I need 4 of them? They're so similar in my mind. Why do I need 4 of them? So the one that I like the least is this one down here because it's way more gold. I prefer the ones that feel like a little bit more mauve-y and they have like coolness to them. And this one just feels so gold that I would rather pick any of these. So that one is Champagne Punch, and that's going to be the 5th shadow that I'm decluttering today. So we have Sugar and Spice, Peachy, Slushy, Honey, Champagne Punch. And as we move forward in Luxie Week, unofficial Luxie Week that might be way less than a week, that's what I need to ask myself. I'm not in a shortage of eyeshadows. I don't need to keep anything that maybe I could possibly wear. I just want to keep the ones that would make me feel excited when I open this palette. I want to open this palette and go, ooh, and not go, ugh, because I know how that feels and that sucks and that means I don't wear any of them. If you were here for day 1, I reorganized a little bit and I started over on the pink side and I had a revelation towards the end that I needed to be a little bit stricter with my decluttering than I had originally started as. So I'm going to go in today trying to remember that mindset. And I want to start on this side actually, because I feel like where I meet in the middle, I might re-swatch some of the ones from yesterday to see if I was harsh enough, but I'm going to save that for tomorrow. So for today, hopefully I'll get my 5 shadows out of this section. Wicked Witch, Next to You, Huff and Puff, Jelly. It's so funny because when I first got Wicked Witch, it was one of my favorite Luxie shadows, and I completely forgot about it. I haven't worn it in a while. I do remember that it never swatched that nicely, so this swatch looks like nothing. Like, I would never guess from this swatch that I loved the shadow, but I know I did. I also know I really loved Next to You, and I know that these were shades that I appreciated, especially this darker one. It's not a shade that I have very much of in my collection, so I don't mind keeping this Luxie one that I know I like, especially if I can remember that, like, that's my dark blue, that's my kind of like navy shimmer. It's more of a problem with the categories where so many shades just look the same to me at first glance, like the bronzes, but I feel like I can keep this straight. Even Jelly, it's a nice shade. I don't wear it that much. I would have thought there would be more similar looking purples in my Luxie collection, and I am going to swatch a couple other purples next to it, but there's really not that many. And I think I'm going to want to keep that one because I think it is unique in this palette at least. Feels, Stormy Morning. Yeah, definitely feels like a very special shade. It feels like it could easily be Divina or a Terra Moon shadow. Stormy Morning, I know I have overlap color-wise. I know I have a Divina shade that's a similar color and a Cleona shade that's a similar color, but I like this one and it's unique in this palette. I feel like there's a time for like cross-referencing brands, but right now I'm kind of just like trying to simplify it as much as possible and go off what I have in front of me. And what I have in front of me is a shade that I like, and I don't want to part with it right now. Worth noting also that my rules aren't always uniform. I could just as easily have been like, no, I know there's a shade from another brand I would rather wear, so I'm going to declutter this one, but that's just not how I feel right now. Okay, these light shimmers, I did actually gather some in that weren't in here yesterday from other palettes, because I'm like, these I do really want to compare next to each other. There was a while where it felt like every Luxie collection came with one of these like light blue or purple shimmers, and having so many of them really makes me not reach for any of them. Now and Maybe Later, Goody Goody Gumdrop, Minty, Electric Lemonade. Interesting. All right, off the bat, Minty can go. This is one of those from that collection where everything ended with an I, and I wasn't very excited about them. Some of them I don't mind keeping as kind of like satin shades, but something this light, I just really don't have a purpose for it or a desire to keep it. These two are interesting because they look quite different in the swatch, and in the pan they look quite similar. I'm a little bit tempted to declutter the second one. What was that? Goody Goody Gumdrop, because that one does lean a little bit more gold, and I feel like I just don't like shadows that have like more of a golden shimmer. But it's such a nice formula. I think the thing too is that like, because, as I've said, I've been so overwhelmed with this palette, I've been so overwhelmed with my single shadows in its totality, I feel like a lot of these I'm swatching for the first time because I haven't swatched them in so long. So I think there is an argument to be made that like these two shadows look the same. I'm going to be confused about which one's which. I'm better off decluttering one and just having one. But I just feel like I don't have enough information right now, and I would like to try them out on my eyes before I make that decision. And then Electric Lemonade looks very sparkly. I'm curious to see how it compares to the next two. Icy and Salty. How many shades were in were in that stupid collection that ended with I? So Icy can 100% go. I don't like the tone of it as much, as a little bit lighter, but there is something about the tone of this one. What was it? Salty? Yeah, Salty, that I like. I think I still have flashbacks for when I was like really getting into eyeshadows, and it was so hard to find blues that were vegan, and all of the eyeshadows that I buy are vegan. And this specific type of tone, like a kind of like a more neutral blue, a neutral sky blue, something without like a heavy base, it was hard for me to find. And I like the look of it, and I want to try it out. I don't know if I'm going to be keeping it long term. I might just go back to opening this palette and being like, bleh, a blue. But I kind of like this right now that like, I have a little bit more of an understanding that I have these two lavenders and I have these two light blues. And one of the light blues is really sparkly and one of the light blues isn't. Let me just swatch these two blues before I move on to this little bit more of a neutral row, because I think both these are staying. Under the Sea and Blue Lagoon. Beautiful shades. I remember looking at Blue Lagoon in like different angles once, and it's like so many colors at once. It's so gorgeous. And also I just love this tone of Under the Sea. Okay, so I'm hoping to just do this one last row today, and I need to declutter 3 more shadows. I think I could do it. I feel like I'm being a little soft today, but I have time to reflect, especially in editing. I feel like I'm going to be editing these videos and be like, what was I thinking? Deadpan, Abracadabra, Splash, Snickerdoodle. I like these. Deadpan is so funny because it was from one of the last collections where most were so bad, but this is a really cool shade. It's like a berry, like a dark berry brown base with like gunmetal sparkle. And I love shades that like mix warm and cool tones, and this does it so intensely. Like this is probably the most intense Luxie shade that I've ever seen. Splash, I remember really enjoying the kind of like subtle, interesting, cool color of it. And these two look like really nice neutrals. Okay, 3 shades left. Riz, Nudie, Rosé. Okay, I'll say off the bat, I love Rosé. That one is at no risk. of leaving. The other two, you know, Nudie has this kind of like antique gold look to it, and I really don't like antique gold. So that one can go. I feel a little bit more complicated about Riz because like it looks like a taupe and I'm interested in taupe, but there's no way that me with my huge eyeshadow collection has no taupe eyeshadows. This one's not a particularly interesting formula. If anything, it would serve as a base. There has to be other taupe bases in my collection. And also, I'm reminding myself, like, I haven't opened this palette, or I've barely used this palette in a year and a half. I never once thought about that shade. I feel like unless I was doing this and specifically looking for shades to declutter and swatching all of them, it's just such like I don't think about it. I never really wore it. It was in one of their last collections. I feel like I've been very, very easy on these shades today, but this one I can't be easy on. I have to get rid of Riz. So that means I've picked out 4 shades, and I wanted to pick out 5 from this bunch. Okay, you know what? I've been reflecting on my swatches. I am going to declutter this one. I just, like, there's something about gold sparkle that I'm so particular about, and this one just looks like a gold sparkly shadow to my eye. Like, I know it has a little bit more to it, it has like a little bit of blue to it, but they look so similar, and I don't want to task myself with having to remember that this one looks different. Like, there's definitely shades out there that I have to remember, and I have a much better reward than remembering, and it's just like, oh yeah, it's kind of a combination that I don't really like anyway. Yeah, instead of having these 2 lavender-looking shadows, but I have to remember they're different, I'd rather just have now and maybe later, and I can remember that this one is a true light lavender. So departing us today, we have Goody Goody Gumdrop, Riz, Nudie, Icy, Minty. I definitely still have a lot more swatching to do and deciding to do, and even like later on more like testing and seeing if in practical use I like these shades as much as I like in the swatches and in my memories. But progress is being made, and I'm happy about that. Like, from the past 2 days already, there's 10 less shadows in here. Like 10 shadows that I wouldn't have wanted to wear are now out of here, and it'll be easier to see the shades that I do want to wear. And I think after I get through this behemoth of greens and bronzes, this palette will be in use again. And that's exciting. It's the final day and day 3 of Lucy Week. It's a short week in Lucyville. This is the series where I'm going through all of my single shadows, and I'm just decluttering 5 a day to make it more palatable for me. Haha, palatable, because there's a palette in front of me. I, in the previous days, swatched from this side, and I swatched from this side, and today I want to attack the middle. There are some that are distinctly green and distinctly bronze, but there is a lot of kind of crossover with the Luxie shades. There's a lot of greens that lean bronze and a lot of bronzes that lean green. At least in my head there is. We'll have to swatch and see if what I think of this collection matches the reality of what it is. But let me scooch over these neutrals from yesterday and let's dig into the greens. Again, you know, some of them are very distinctly different. And in fact, I'm going to start with these 4 down here that are very distinctly different from kind of like the mess of brown and green that's going on in there. Okay, we have Emerald City, Jaded, Sour Watermelon, Groovy Baby. Oh, I forgot how much I liked these. I think the least exciting is Emerald City, but it's still a really nice shade, and it's nice to have shades in my collection that just are what they look like. It looks like kind of like a golden green, and it is kind of a golden green. Same thing with Jaded. It's like a straight up kind of apple green. Sour Watermelon is interesting. It feels like a bit more of like an unusual green. Like it's kind of a more bluish green, but it's not at all teal. And then Groovy Baby's interesting because it's not as sparkly, but it has like pink or red in it. It's similar to a Cleona shade that I didn't have at the time of getting this, but I've since acquired. I feel like I want to keep this for now, but I also might end up comparing those and deciding to not keep both of them. But for right now, all 4 are moving on to the next round. These look nice. We have High Key, Dragon's Lair, Drip, and Willow. Yeah, these are interesting because especially Drip looks so green in the pan, but in the swatch, it looks more like a golden bronze or something. These shades are so nice. How are these so nice? I know for sure I want to keep these top two. I just think they look so beautiful. They're really similar, but this second one, it's Dragon Slayer. Did I say Dragon's Lair before? I don't know. It has a little bit more of an interesting base. It has kind of like a dark purple base. I really like that. I might consider decluttering these two, but I do want to see how they compare to my other bronzes. So we're going to get some more information and then make decisions. Ooh, they look so similar though. Viper, Saltwater Taffy, ooh, Howl at the Moon, Peacock. Very interesting. Okay, we still don't have anything that's too similar yet to Drip, but this one, this was Saltwater Taffy. That's so beautiful. That impressed me so much. These last two seem to have a bit lighter of a base, but they still look really pretty. I'm less impressed with this one here. It looks more like a normal metallic and less like a sparkly shadow. So I'm going to declutter this. That one was Viper, which I think was one of the more newer Luxie collections anyway. Oh wow, this is only the first shade so far. I think it's been kind of like that though. It's like in the beginning, there's like nothing to declutter, and then all of a sudden, there they are. And also I'll have to decide through comparisons as I gather more information. Starburst, Honeydew, Lemonhead, Rocky Road. Okay, Lemonhead's the one that impressed me the most. This one, I don't like this one as much. It's nice and it's sparkly, but it just doesn't feel as special. It kind of reminds me in a way of Cleona Bronze Fountain, and I would rather wear Bronze Fountain. Sorry, I had to adjust my camera because it was falling down. That one is Honeydew. I can declutter Honeydew. And then I'm trying to decide because these two look pretty similar. I think this one's like a tiny bit brighter. I feel like I like this one more. Which are these? This is the first one here. Starburst. Ooh. And Howl at the Moon. I feel like I've had Starburst so long that I feel like nostalgic towards it. But the facts are the facts. Those are really similar. And as I've been saying with this, I've been opening up this Luxie palette and not using any of the shades. So if decluttering Starburst makes this bronze area a little bit easier for my eye, because right now I don't even see any of the options. I just see Overwhelm and I close it. I think I've talked myself into it. I'm going to declutter Starburst. Okay, I feel like this just got very serious. I'm going to start swatching right here. We have Dark Horse, Social Butterfly, Sus. Okay, Sus I definitely want to declutter. It just didn't feel as nice going on, and it doesn't look quite as sparkly. It still does have a lot of sparkle, but definitely not as much as these two, and it just seems more of like a boring brown. This one in the middle does seem kind of similar to some of these, like this one down here, but this one has more of like a golden shimmer, and this one has a little bit more of like a green shimmer to it. So I feel like I want to keep both of these for now. And I feel like there's an interesting thing with decluttering where like the first time you go through something, you get rid of like the worst of the worst. And then after those are out, it's easier to see what else needs to be decluttered. So I feel like decluttering just a couple shadows at a time is good because the next time that I go through these, and I don't know how, how far in the future that'll be, but I'll be able to discern the differences a little bit better between the ones that remain and then see like which are the worst of the ones that remain. Very exciting stuff. Okay, let's start down here. Okay, we have Mama Tried, Honey Pot, Gorda Mercy, Hottie. Okay, I think Mama Tried is kind of a similar formula to this one here, but this one just felt a little bit more like streaky. It didn't go on as evenly, and I think I can definitely declutter that one. And then Hottie was the one that the other day I was unsure about. I swatched it on day one, and looking at it again, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't look as special. I didn't feel anything when I swatched it, so I think I want to declutter both of those. Hottie and Mama Tried. These three I also know I already swatched the other day, but I just want to try them out with everything else on my arm. Adorbs, Chocolate Kiss, The Monarch. Yeah, they're different. My first impression was like these two are similar, but this one's definitely a little bit more warm, has like more pink sparkle to it. Yeah, I think I've done good here. Like, part of me feels like I could re-swatch these bronzes and decide further, and maybe I will
in the future. Maybe that'll be a thing. I kind of joked about round 2 before, but maybe round 2 will be real eventually. But I pulled out 6 today. 6. That's even better than 5. That's even more than 5. I pulled out 6 today that I'm saying goodbye to from this collection, in addition to the 10 from the past 2 days. So this palette is lighter by 16 shadows. We have Hottie, Starburst, Mama Tried, Sus, Honeydew, and Viper. And you know, I do feel like these are 6 shades that kind of all looked the same to me when I would open this palette, even though they're not, even though they're so different. My mind was just so like overwhelmed opening this that I'm like, ugh, like 6 of the same thing. So I've removed 6 of the same thing from this palette. I also feel like swatching all of them got me a little bit better acquainted with what I was once acquainted with. So I'm like back on my way to knowing these shades and incorporating them in my life. Today's episode is actually going to be a little bit different. If you watched my video the other day, I posted a declutter, but also kind of like organize my drawers with me. And I went through a drawer that had a lot of makeup that I purchased last year. One of those purchases last year was from Give Me Glow, which I haven't tried any shades from in a long time, but last year they were having a big sale and I was like, you know, I could do a video and see how the shadows are now compared to what I felt about them from the past. And then I never did it. The package has sat there. In this little pink palette, I have some very messy shadows. I did a different video, probably about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, where I went through all of my larger pan shadows. So that was Give Me Glow and JD Glow. And I repanned them into these smaller ones, and I also mixed them together to make some Frankenstein shades. So today might be a little bit of a, you know, we'll see where the journey takes us, but I definitely want to compare these Give Me Glow shades to the Give Me Glow shades that I repanned. And along the way, hopefully we'll find some things to declutter. Okay, so in that package, I bought a lip gloss and a lip liner. That's another day's business. And I bought, you know, I made this order so long ago, I do not remember what it is exactly. I bought 7 shadows. It looks like 6 of them are shimmer, 1 of them is a matte. Let's open them up. Fancy Yellow. Oh, Glass Slipper. I had this one once and I decluttered it because it was looking like it could possibly be moldy. In fact, in the Frankenstein video, I took this one out of the pan and it looked like it could be mold. I'm pretty sure that's what happened and I decluttered it. Cool. Sugar Shock. This one is new to me. Sunkissed, also new to me. Xenon, this is one we can compare. Electric Unicorn is one that we can compare. And Party Monster, I'm so excited about this one we can compare. Yeah, let's just do a couple swatches of the ones that, ooh, it kind of feels nice. These are the ones that I don't have. That matte is so nice. Oh my god, this looks so nice. I don't know why, because I really enjoyed, okay, that orange wasn't as exciting. I really enjoyed Give Me Glow in the past, and I guess I just felt like my tastes must have evolved past them. But this was a Sugar Shock. That looks so bold and beautiful. I will say that ever since I did my whole Frankenstein thing, I haven't been using these that much, and I feel like that's a couple reasons. One of the reasons is that the pans I used had just been something I had laying around forever, and it's a much deeper pan than a normal pan is. I don't know if you can tell. And something about that just like feels off to me. I just like don't like the way that feels. And also because I made so many shades, it just kind of got overwhelming to like remember what was what. And I didn't use any alcohol or traditional pressing methods. I kind of just like did it. Balls to the wall, you may say. And it did work out pretty well. I'll show you this one again. For the ones I was just like smushing into the original pan and smushing down. But the ones I mixed up kind of ended up a little bit more like this. This is literally just like loose pigment in a pan. And this is what I think of when I think of my Frankenstein palette. I was kind of thinking that maybe after I finish my whole 5 single shadows a day declutter, and I'll have some pans available of shades that like aren't worth passing on to anybody, I might repan some of my nicer shades into those, so I don't have the problem of them being like too tall, but I digress. Let's look at the comparisons, because that's what I'm excited about. Electric Unicorn was like an iridescent multichrome. Oh, this see, this must be because I didn't like formally press it. It's just very messy. And this one that's in the pan is pressed really nicely. Oh, and the magnet just like pulled it down and it got messy everywhere. Okay, original Electric Unicorn, new Electric Unicorn. I think the new one does look slightly more warm. I think that's just about the only difference. The only other thing is that I can kind of see this one being a little bit more intense, but I think that's just because the formula was a little bit less pushed down, so it has a little bit more texture to the swatch. Xenon Original and Xenon New, these kind of look a little bit different in color. I was so excited when I first got Xenon. I made a whole video about one shade. Yes, I did. Maybe they'll look the same. So we have old Xenon and new Xenon. The old Xenon is much more blue than the new Xenon is. It's deeper in the base, but also the shift goes a little bit blue, and I'm not really seeing that in the new Xenon. I also think the blue made the old one more special than the new one looks. Okay, my battery died as I was admiring these swatches and thinking, and some time passed, so I removed the swatches. The pink definitely stained, but that's just part of life as an eyeshadow lover. That's what I think. The last comparison is Party Monster, and I forgot up until today how much I loved Party Monster. Such an incredible shadow, and I just haven't been wearing anything that's in this palette. Okay, not too far off. I'll start swatching under the stain. So this is old Party Monster and new Party Monster. Okay, not too different. I think we are seeing the same thing that I was saying with Electric Unicorn, that because my old Party Monster is less pressed because I pressed it myself, I can see some more texture because of that. I also think the green shimmer in the old Party Monster is a bit deeper than it is in the new one. I think I still like the old one better than the new one. The tough thing is that I was so hoping that the old and the new would be like identical, which kind of feels like wishful thinking, but it also just kind of feels like it's the same brand. Like, why wouldn't it be? Because I have the problem the old ones being in these taller pans that I don't like as much, and just generally being older shadows. Because I kind of feel a little stuck. I don't want to get rid of the new one. It's much newer than the old one is. So by that logic, it will like still be good for way longer than the old one will. But if I like the old one slightly better, it feels silly to get rid of the old one. But then it also feels silly to keep two nearly identical shadows, because I feel like that will prevent me from using either one. Because that's what I've learned about myself. If I'm overwhelmed with options, if I have to think before I swatch, then I just won't. I'll use something else that's more clear to me. So what is a girl to do? Oh, I didn't swatch this one yet. This one I didn't get another one of. I can't remember what it was called. I remember it being really pretty, but it's a deeper shade than I tend to wear. Oh, and the formula feels a little outdated. Like, it looks like it has a nice metallic shine to it, but I'm not feeling super impressed. Okay, so let's start with what I know I do and don't want to declutter out of these Give Me Glow shadows. I want to keep this new matte. It was super creamy. I want to keep Glass Slipper. I want to keep this pink. Sometimes I feel like, as a rule, I don't want to make super quick decluttering decisions about things that are new and I haven't like given myself a chance with. But I do feel like this package of Give Me Glow shadows doesn't entirely fall into that category, because like I bought them a year ago and they've just sat in a bag. Like, it's not like a specially curated, handpicked by me order. At least not by the same iteration of me that sits here before you today. So that being said, this orange, I don't really feel any qualms about decluttering this. I just know that it's not that special, and I have a lot of way more special oranges that I would rather wear, and I haven't worn an orange shadow in a while. I want to wear one of my Davina oranges. I don't want to wear this one. So I can declutter this. I'm going to move my good shadows back here because I like putting my decluttering shadows up there. And this one, was this called like Mermaid Waters or something like that? I can't remember. I'm assuming it's no longer on their website, or I would have ordered it last year, I think. I don't know. I haven't reached for this. I'm not excited about the swatch. I can declutter this one. And let me take a look at these electric unicorns again, because I really don't want to keep both. And like, of these three, of Electric Unicorn, Xenon, and Party Monster, I would say Electric Unicorn was always my least favorite. So if any makes sense to slim down the collection, it's this one. Here is the old Electric Unicorn and the new one, and they are really similar other than the flakiness. I think they're even more similar than I was thinking they were, because I'm not really seeing that warmth difference that I had mentioned before. So yeah, I can declutter the old one. Everything that I said a minute ago about the reasons to not keep both Party Monster still stand true, but I've just been sitting here looking at these swatches, and it just doesn't feel right to declutter one of them with just this amount of information. I feel like I need to try them both in my eyes, and maybe then it'll stand out, or maybe even then I'll be like, no, I want to keep both of them. Right now I am going to keep both of them. So I have 3 more to declutter, and it's not going to come out of the Gimme Glow section. So now I'm turning an eye to my JD Glow shadows and to my Frankenstein shadows. And let's take a look at this guy. This guy that I pointed out before as literally just like being loose shadow in a pan. Pretty. I bet it's going to be more shiny than this one, which it mostly is made up of. Oh, that is pretty. Oh, I love that I'm seeing like orange sparkles in it. But am I going to wear that? Am I going to wear that? No, I'm not going to wear that. It's pretty, but I can see how dark the base is, and I really feel like the only way I'm going to use some of these is by having less of them. So this is pretty, but I don't wear it, and I don't think I will be wearing it. And in fact, now I'm making the decision I won't be wearing it because I'm going to declutter it. I just like the look of these neutral Frankenstein shades so much better. And I could imagine that when I like combine to put them in smaller pans, I will like combine them farther. Look how pretty that is. Wait, actually, just doing this swatch makes me want to declutter this one, because this looks so special and this looks kind of uninteresting in comparison. So okay, I wasn't even like, I thought this was just going to be an example, but yeah, I'm going to declutter this one. This one's actually probably one of the nicer pressed Frankenstein ones. Like, I don't think it's going to fall right out. All right, some sprinkles did. But if I tried that with one of the other ones, the entire thing would have fallen out. Yeah, and just having these 4 Frankenstein shades feels like a much better place to start when I do find the time and energy and motivation to like actually try to press these a little bit better, probably with like some alcohol, probably finding someone's directions, and not just doing what I did, which was mix them together and put them in a pan and hope for the best. I want to swatch this because this is bothering me. I know we got our 5 already, but this is Peachy Keen, which was always like a smoother formula shadow. And I feel like something about the formula of it is why it didn't just like repress as easily as my other shades. Yeah, it's a pretty sheen, and I have some like fond memories of wearing it, but I haven't worn it since it's been in this pan, and it just doesn't want to like be a shadow. It doesn't want this life anymore, you know? So a little bonus shadow. I'm going to declutter this one. So today we're decluttering JD Glow Peachy Keen, I think. Give Me Glow Sunkissed. Give Me Glow Mermaid Tears, I think. A Frankenstein concoction. Give Me Glow Electric Unicorn. And another Frankenstein concoction. And this palette, even with the addition of some of those Give Me Glow ones that I didn't have in this originally, this looks so much better. This looks so much more up my alley. I feel like I took out the tones that I'm less excited to wear, and the ones that are left are colors that I am excited to wear.
Hello and welcome to 5 Single Shadows a Day presents The Shadow Showdown. Today, the rules are simple.
I pulled out 10 single shadows, 5 pairs of similar looking shades. I'm gonna swatch one on each eye. We're gonna choose a winner and send the other one packing. Let's dive in. We're gonna start off with these 2 greenish shades. This is from Luxie Groovy Baby and from Cleona Royal Pear. When this Luxie shade came out, there was instantly comparisons being made to this Cleona shade. I didn't have it, so this Luxie shade felt special to me. But now that I have both, we'll see if the Luxie shade can still hold its own. The Luxie shade has a bit more of a tacky, textured feel, but does look cute on the eye. The Cleona shade is smoother, softer. You can see the reason for the comparisons. They both have the same apple green base to them, and I think they're both trying to do the same thing in the forefront, this like reddish orange shimmer. The Cleona shade goes there. You can see the red-orange shine and even some yellow in there. The Luxie shade seems to be more of a suggestion of red. I am seeing that yellow shimmer to it as well. Indeed, really similar shades. The winner of this round is, ding ding, Cleona Royal Pear. The next 2 shades are visually not exact, but I think of them very similarly and they look the same to me when I just like open a palette. So I'd like to just keep one. These are both from Divina. They're both from the collection that expanded on this really metallic silver that they sold and I have. This is Airglow and Pink Flare. Ooh. This collection was filled with beautiful shades, beautiful formulas, but once I owned all of them, they felt too similar to keep and use all of them. Based on the pan, I did not realize, I guess I see it now, but straight on, it just looks silver, and I didn't realize it had this warmth on the eye. It looks like a light brown metallic and not like a silver metallic. And Pink Flare, I'm a little bit torn about, because I do like the idea of this like silvery pink metallic, but I don't know if I'm seeing enough pink to want to keep it. Yeah, the winner of this round is going to be Divina Airglow. I thought this was going to be the opposite. If I had to make a decision before doing these swatches, I would have kept Pink Flare. I would have thought this one's more interesting. But on the eye, this feels like a special metallic golden champagne or something, and this just feels slightly more pink than a silver. Next up we have 2 yellow mattes. These aren't the brushes I would normally use to apply my mattes, but I do have 2 of the exact same brushes, both clean, the Sigma E35, and I have Luxie Butter and ColourPop Take Flight. Okay, the Luxie shade went on easily, nice amount of pigment, nice bright color. The ColourPop side gave a much lighter application. I thought this would be much closer. I thought this would be a much harder decision, but it's so clear that Luxie Butter wins. I was hoping this one would win, because although Luxie is like dead anyway, I bought this Luxie matte way more recently than I bought this ColourPop matte, and I know like eyeshadows are bound to expire one day. And maybe it's even possible that I bought the ColourPop one long enough ago that it did perform better in its heyday. Let me add a little bit of butter to this side. Yeah, what a beautiful yellow. And I love doing this kind of thing because like I'm figuring this out now instead of figuring this out while I'm doing a look. Because how disappointing would it be if I was trying to get this sort of yellow effect and I'm using the ColourPop shade and it's just not happening. Next up, I have 2 yellow shimmery iridescents. We have from Shine by SD in collaboration with Glam Smitty, this is Lothlorien, and then from Terra Moons we have Lightyear. Lothlorien's such a beautifully soft, shiny shadow. Lightyear is a bit more smooth. What a nice, simple look that I literally never do. I can't believe how similar these are. I know a lot of my iridescents feel a little bit too simple for my eyelid, and I like to just keep them on my inner corner, but both of these look so beautiful. Like it really like stands its own. It really holds its own on my eyelid. This is such a close race because they do truly look so similar, but the winner for this round is going to be Terra Moon's Lightyear, and that's because I like wearing this type of shade on my inner corner, and Terra Moon's Lightyear is a smoother shade, which just to me feels easier to work with on my inner corner. Lothlorien is so beautiful, but I don't need both. They are so similar. So, Terra Moon's Lightyear prevails. And lastly, we have 2 hot pinks And honestly, I'm a little bit scared for this round. We have Cleona, Cinder, and Shine Bay SD Hottie. They look a little bit different in the pan, but both of these are like super hot pinks that don't have a lot of sparkle. Cinder is smooth and soft, but not as silky as some of my other Cleona shades. Formula-wise, it's a little bit less interesting on my eye because it doesn't have that like signature Cleona sparkle, but I really like the color of this, and I've enjoyed this mixed in with looks or deepening pink looks. I've had Hottie for longer, and it feels a little bit older when I touch it. I think on my eye I can see that Hottie is like one step brighter, but Cinder, it's funny having these compared because I think Cinder, which I think of as a very like flat one-note shade, it does have a little bit of difference to it. Like it does have a little bit more brightness in the forefront than it does in the base. Maybe Hottie has that too, but all over Hottie feels a little bit brighter. Okay, I was scared. I was different levels of scared. When I first picked up Hottie on my finger, I looked at my finger and I'm like, oh no, this looks, like you could even see, Hottie looks so like bright. Cinder looks so much more dull. But on my eye, I feel like the dullness of Cinder is a little bit more like dimensionality. So I can do this. I can prevail. I can make hard decisions. This is not even the hardest decision that I've made yet today, and it's like 10 a.m. The Davina decision was. That's like half a joke. But the winner of this round is Cleona Cinder. Allow me to swatch out for you the winners and the losers. Cleona Royal Pear, Davina Air Glow, Luxie Butter, Terramoon's Light Year, Cleona Cinder, Luxie Groovy Baby, Davina Pink Flare, Colourpop Take Flight, Shine Bay SD and Glam Smitty Lothlorien, and Shine Bay SD Hottie. These swatches are all a little bit off center. Swatching with my left hand is hard. But there we have it, the winners and the losers. It is funny looking at them, the swatches so similar. And had it not been for this experiment of putting one on each eyelid, I think it would have been really hard to make the decision on some of these. Because sometimes you don't know just how similar or dissimilar shades are until you put them on the same face, in the same lighting conditions, and just see how it makes you feel. And it does kind of feel like I'm decluttering one half of an identical looking collection, but I feel confident that the half I'm keeping is the better half for me, however small the differences are. I realize that I'm coming to you today with a green and a red palette. Today, I was looking for a specific shadow so I could film a specific video where I compared some shadows. It's possible that this is being moved around. It's possible that I did end up finding that shadow and I did already post that comparison video. But the reason I'm telling you this is because I did a really deep search of my room and all of the possible places I could store makeup, and I realized I had 2 more eyeshadow palette storage palettes than I realized that I had. I realized I had this one, which I emptied out and I added to my green palette, and I realized I had this little Garden of Love magnetic palette from Shine Bay SD in collaboration with Glam Smitty. In my intro video, I told you that I had 569, I think, or something like that, shadows spread out in 16 palettes, and I did say approximately that number of shadows because I figured this would happen and more would turn up. And I wasn't thinking that more palettes would turn up, but I guess it makes more sense that for more shadows to turn up, it means more palettes turn up. This doesn't really matter, but we have a red and green palette today, and we're going to find 5 single shadows to declutter. I'm not sure if they're still selling this quad. In fact, I would be pretty confident that they're not selling, I said quad. What's a 6? Is that a quint? I don't know. I don't think they're still selling this 6-pan in the way that I had bought it, but this is what Moonlit Tryst was in, and Moonlit Tryst has become one of my favorite indie single shadows. It's like a beautiful, iridescent, multicolored sparkle. I mean, I love wearing it in lots of different ways, but the way that I tend to wear it most often is just as an inner corner because it goes with everything. It has like all of the colors in it, but it's also no specific color at the same time, and it looks so good. And then these other shadows kind of came with it, and I think I've experimented with them a little bit, but I figured we could swatch them out today and see if I want to keep all of them. I don't know why I started the bottom row, but I know I have worn this one before, and it was incredible, so I think I just really wanted to touch that one first. Yeah, this shade is like so up my alley. It's so multicolored. It has like
this green base that looks kind of smoky in some lights, but also a little bit vibrant in some lights, and this beautiful pink sparkle. And these two, well, alright, this one is much brighter than I thought it was. I feel like I'm going to have to wear that before I make any decisions. But this pink in the middle, I don't know if I need that one. Let me swatch the other two and think that out a little bit. I feel like I go back and forth between making quick decisions and being nervous about my quick decisions. But it's true, like, I didn't pick all of these shades. I wanted the little palette, and I wanted Moonlit Tryst, and I got those, and I ended up discovering that I love this one too, even though I always forget about it, and I'm definitely not going to store it in here after this. I am going to declutter the silver. It's a different formula than all of these other ones are. It doesn't have that, like, PC little individual shimmer. It's more of a metallic, and it's just not something I need. I did wear it on my eyes sometime this year. It was probably months ago, but I was like, I want to try something different and just wear this, like, metallic in a color I don't tend to wear. It's a formula I don't tend to wear, and it just didn't feel great. Like, I thought I was doing something there, and I learned that I wasn't. I'm also going to declutter this light pink. It has a nice sparkle to it. I could see it being a versatile shadow, but I have so many light colored sparkly shades, and I don't imagine myself reaching for this one. This pink I'm going to think about a little bit more. Maybe I'll wear it like tomorrow. Okay, so this little guy can go to the side. I need to start like making 6 pans in there. It's such a cute little palette. I love the red metallic on the outside. I love that you could see the shades that are in there. I really need to utilize this. Okay, onto this palette. This is a double-sided palette from Adept, and I always liked this one. I felt like the green, like, faux snake was kind of chic, but I realized it's kind of splitting in the corner, so I think it might be kind of on its last leg. And also, I never liked having shades upside down. I just feel like it's not good for the integrity of the shadow. But again, I digress. So this palette was where I was storing my Divina shades for a while. So a lot of these are Divina, but as I said, I did put in that other palette that I found into here, and there were a handful of random shades in here anyway. So maybe I'll just kind of look around and see what I see. Okay, down here, this is from Shine by SD, the collaboration with M. Jones 5018 and Bizarre Revolta. This shade is called Bizarre, and it is a bizarre shade. I think I've talked about this before. I had first tried it out and I was like, this is such a weird shade. It's like such a thin formula. It's kind of like nothing. And I put it to the side and I was like, you know, next time I sell some single shadows, I'll include this one. And then I did that and I forgot about it, and a lot of time went by, and I was like, let me just try this again because maybe like I would like it. The color combination is really pretty. It has like a mint green base, which kind of reminds me of Cleona Mural, which is one of my favorites. And it has this like reflective, multi-chromatic pink and orange shine to it. I think you could see in the camera. I could definitely see in my eye. But the formula is just so weird and thin that it just like, it doesn't come up like anything. I need a little something more, you know? Maybe it was a similar kind of fantasy of the silver. I'm like, it's not like what I tend to wear, so I'll like it. It's different, so I'll like it. And I just didn't. Like, it reminded me that there's a reason that I love the kind of formulas that I love, and Shine by SD does make mostly the type of formulas that I love. This one's just such like an odd one. This is kind of like a wet rock shadow. I know I used to always describe shades like that, and you know, it hasn't come up as much recently, but this is like that. You don't get the texture coming up. It's just like, it's just smooth, and all of a sudden there's shine on your finger. But I'm ready to declutter this, and clearly I've been ready, minus a small hiccup along the way. A lot of my Divina shades are very like sacred to me. I really love the formulas. I really love the brand. They're the only indie single shadow brand that I've ever received PR from, and that means a lot to me, especially as a small creator. So some of the Divina shades have been sent to me. Most of them I have bought myself, and most of them I love. But one exception, and it's not even about the formula, it's just about like my taste in color, is Thetis. This is one that I did by myself, and it's such a gorgeous formula that part of me is like, why am I doing this? I could just keep it around and see and see what happens. But I'm just not a fan of shades that have yellow and purple. And that's entirely just a color preference that I have. I know every time I've worn this, it just feels, oh my god, that's so pretty. It just feels way too yellow for me. And I do like yellow shades in certain amounts. I like them with certain reflex, in certain shimmers, certain like perfect storms. But when I wear this, it just feels like a yellow sparkle on top of a purple if you ignore all of the multi-chromaticness you have in different lighting. And one thing that I keep reminding myself about this process is I'm not just trying to get rid of the worst of the worst. I mean, I am, but I'm also trying to get rid of enough that every shadow in here has a purpose, I have a relationship with, and I'm excited to use. This is a shade that checks so many boxes, like the formula and the payoff, the shine, it's so beautiful, but the color combination's not right for me, and I don't want to keep something if the color combination isn't right for me. So I'm going to declutter Thetis. Okay, one more to go for today, and what's catching my eye is I have a copacetic shade over here. I decluttered a lot of my copacetic shades a while ago because I kind of explained in that video. They're flaky shades, but they're so flaky. They're so much flakier than the flaky that inspired me to buy more flakies. And I just don't reach for them. Oh my god. I think the shade has aged since I bought it. It looks so nice in the pan, but like when I touch it, I just feel like the whole thing move. And that's how it picks up on my finger. And it has like such a nice wet kind of sparkle that I know someone could work with this and get a really beautiful shine. But because I have so many shades, I don't have the desire to work with this. I'd rather just use an easier to use shade and call it a day. This, by the way, is Elizabeth Browning. But yeah, the only flaky that I've tried from Copacetic that I enjoyed was called Ball Drop. And I'm excited for it to be my only copacetic shadow again. So here are the 5 that I'm decluttering today. We have Divina Thetis, which gets its own hand because it needs its own special moment. As we go on, we remember. Bizarre from Shine by SD in collaboration with M. Jones 5018 and Bizarre Volta. Fairy Light and Clandestine Kiss from Shine by SD in collaboration with Glam Smitty. And Elizabeth Browning from Copacetic. Oh, that's funny. I was thinking I swatched them all out of order, but I'm keeping these 3 and the next 5 are today's declutters. Today we're back with this big green Adept palette, this double-decker palette. I already went through this once and I had 5 shadows to declutter, and I know there are 5 more in here that need the boot. This used to be entirely a Divina palette, but it's gotten mixed in with lots of other things. So there are a bunch of Divina, but most of the Divinas are safe because I love them. But one thing that's catching my eye are these really similar colors here. I found with my collection that when I have things that look really similar, especially from the same brand, it kind of discourages me from using either one because I have to think about it. And I like for my makeup to be primarily a think-free zone, or at least have the ability to be a think-free zone. So this one here is Sprinkle Whips, and this one is Kazookles. They have a pretty similar formula, and the swatch of them on my finger looks pretty similar. I'm seeing a little bit more orange to Kazookles and a little bit more blue to Sprinkle Whips. Sprinkle Whips and Kazookles. Yeah, these are so similar. I think Sprinkle Whips, it might be like a little bit lighter and shinier. It might just look shinier because it goes a little bit more cool toned and that stands out from the base a little bit more. But the tone that I like more is Kazookles, and I feel like that's the shade that I know more and I would just prefer to wear. So I'm going to start off with decluttering Sprinkle Whips. Yesterday I had decluttered a Copacetic Flaky. A while ago I had decluttered some of my Copacetic Flakies. I didn't even realize that there's even more Copacetic Flakies in this palette. I'm pretty sure that after these 2, I've officially decluttered all of the ones that I want to declutter. But of course, that means the next ones are these. This one's Flora, and this actually wasn't one of my least favorites. I mean, one of them has to not be a least favorite, right? It's just so chunky and flaky, but like the formula isn't all bad because it has a nice reflection. And I do kind of like the tone of this one. And I feel like I did try to wear this not too long ago. But as I've said, talking about these flakies before,
it's just not worth the hassle for me. I have such a large, gorgeous, robust collection that I'm able to have gorgeous, shiny looks without having to like fuss with something that's going to flake all over my face. So because of that, I'm never going to voluntarily reach for it, and I'm going to declutter it. And then finally for the copacetic flakies, we have resentful longing. I do think this was also one that I liked a little bit better, but it's flaking so bad. I don't know if you saw that, like, just as I'm touching it, more and more flakes are coming off the bottom. The tone of this one is the kind of neutral that I like. It's like a champagne, but it has a cool toned shimmer, but it has a little bit of like a warm base to it. But again, I'll save you the spiel. It's just not worth messing with. So I'm decluttering resentful longing. Is that how I feel about it? Am I longing for it resentfully? Maybe. Looking at this swatch, I do want to wear a shade that looks like this. So I'm looking at it resentfully because it's not the one. It's not going to happen. Okay, what else do we have in here? As I've said, a lot of these Divina shades are so pretty and I wouldn't consider decluttering them. I said in yesterday's video also how I'd recently found another palette that I didn't realize I had, and Fairy Fire. I'll give you a swatch just for fun. I feel like we're going quick so we could have a little fun moment. I had been thinking about Fairy Fire and I was like, where's Fairy Fire? I haven't seen it in so long, and that's because it was just chilling in its own little palette off to the side. It's such a gorgeous green reflect. I've really missed having this around. And I've missed having a collection that's manageable enough that I know where everything is. Like, it shouldn't happen that palettes are just getting lost among my makeup storage for months at a time. And hopefully after this, it won't happen again. Hopefully I'm gaining the capacity to have everything in my mind again and have everything stored nicely, neatly organized again. Because it used to be when I was looking for a shadow, I would know where it was. What a nice distant memory. I'm resentfully longing. Okay, how about this matte? The Divina mattes are a little bit too lightly pressed for me. They're very pigmented. So, you know, again, different priorities for different people, different strokes for different folks, you may say. But I prefer mattes that you have to build up a little bit as opposed to mattes that are full pigment off the bat. This is Mirror Lake, and I really like the color of it, but the formula just doesn't agree with me. I feel like it's a little bit too vibrant, that the camera's not accurately picking it up. It's like a very bright royal blue. And someone who really likes really pigmented indie mattes might enjoy Divina's matte formula, but this isn't one that I want to keep around. There are others that I do keep around. For example, Suki is such a beautiful shade that I make an exception for it. And also I feel like this one is a little bit easier to work with in my opinion. And there's another one too, Meraki. I really like Meraki as a Divina matte. But in my opinion, for my tastes, their mattes aren't as like can't miss as their shimmers are. Like even how I'm decluttering this shimmer, it's not because it's not beautiful. It is beautiful. I just don't need two that are so similar. Oh, I confused myself for a second because I put I put two that I swatched but I was keeping over there, and then I was like, wait, how many am I decluttering? Okay, how about you? This is Quantum from Shine by SD. They came out with like holographic shades. Was it just once or was it more than once? I can't remember. This is one of them, and I can see the little holographic particles to it. Perhaps under certain lighting, it's pretty, but last time I wore it, it just didn't feel that special. It didn't shine as brightly as my other shimmery shades do. And like, it's cool if it's holographic and all, but I would rather it be like a piecey, sparkly shimmer than feel a little bit more dull and have holographic capacity. It's also in a shade family that I really like, this kind of like grayed out light teal. And I have a lot of shadows I would prefer to wear. So I'm going to declutter Shine by SD Quantum. So for today, we're decluttering Divina Sprinkle Whips and Mirror Lake, Copacetic Flora and Resentful Longing, and Shine by SD Quantum. Here's Sprinkle Whips, the two Copacetic shades, Mirror Lake, and Quantum. And let's take another moment for Fairy Fire. Ooh, so pretty. It's funny with some palettes, after I declutter, I'm like, yeah, this looks so much better. This still looks like such a mess to me. Maybe it's because like nothing's in any order and it's all just like a bunch of circles spread out in two palettes. But I bet once there's some better organization And maybe still a couple more to go. Maybe still a couple more to declutter out of here. I'm not sure. I can't see the future. I think it is meaningful that as messy as this looks, it's 10 shadows less messy than it was before yesterday. Because again, it's the second day decluttering this palette. Today I pulled out this Hecate palette from Divina. So pretty. I love this lady. Inside here, I have mostly Pretties for Your Face shades. There are some intruders. These are from Divina. This is Menagerie, Divina, Terra Moons, I think. But my plan for today is to focus on the Pretties for Your Face shades and see if there's 5 that I want to declutter. I did post an eye swatch video with Pretties for Your Face shades earlier this month. None of those new shades are in this palette, but I've had the same feelings for a lot of batches of Pretties for Your Face shades that I've tried, where some of them are really nice and some of them aren't so nice. So my job today is to swatch and remember what I do and I don't like. So I'm going to start by moving out of the way the non-Pretties for Your Face shades that I'm not going to focus on unless I absolutely have to. Okay, I think that's all of them. And then everything else is Pretties for Your Face, so that is kind of a lot. This shade is kind of like satiny. I think they might have called it a matte. They either called it a matte or a satin. It's the shade Fresh Cedar, and I thought I would declutter this, and then I wore it not too long ago, and it worked pretty well as a crease color. So I am going to keep this one. I also have in Pretties for Your Face a lot of like cool toned shimmers or satins that I love mixing and matching to have like really layered, sultry, cool-ish, but not like gray cool leaning looks. And I see some of them in here. A Burr, Gina, Underground, In for a Treat. Yeah, all of these, like, this is where I feel like Pretties for Your Face excels, because it's a unique formula that I feel like is hard to find from other brands. These like smooth, light shimmers that just like blend so well and they work so well in place of mattes. So these are all safe. I'm not sure about these browns though. Not bad. This is Thankful and Broomstick. You know, they both do look really nice in a swatch. I'm pretty sure Thankful was in my first order I ever placed with them, and I do like it. It looks like pretty, it's shiny, it's shifty, but the formula is a little bit messy. When I pressed down on it, like flakes came off like around the pan. It's just not the feel of a shade that I like. It feels rougher. It almost feels like a pressed glitter. And even though it's really pretty, I don't reach for this type of shade enough to need to keep ones that I don't like that much. I'd rather wear a different bronze from a different brand, so I'm going to declutter Thankful. And maybe in the future I need to evaluate like my dark brown shimmers, but that still feels like special and unique to me and I want to keep it. A lot of times when I'm deepening up a shimmer look, I want a dark brown shimmer, and it's always in my head that like I don't have that, but I think I have a couple now. I just need to get organized. This is Starry Sky and Banff. Banff was a collaboration shade with Catherine B. Beauty, and I don't tend to reach for it a lot, but I want to try it out as a work shade. I feel like it's just the type of formula that I could get away with having a brighter color, so I'd like to do that. Starry Sky, though, I just don't like the formula of it. It felt kind of flaky and crumbly, and I'm very specific with my iridescents. I'm lucky to have a beautiful collection of them, and because I primarily wear an iridescent in my inner corner, a flaky shade just doesn't work out, so I'm going to declutter that one. Okay, I will swatch all these greens, but I feel like I'm not going to want to declutter any of them. I feel like they're so pretty. I feel like these are like some of my favorite Pretties for Your Face shades. Legend, Glass Slipper, Spine Tingling. Yeah, all 3 of these are so sparkly. I love this like lime green, yellow thing going on in Legend. All 3 of these are staying. Festive, Pumpkin Pixie, Under Your Spell. I love Festive. It's like a deeper version of that one. It's funny, Pumpkin Pixie looks very similar to this one. They're both like a similar tone of green with multicolored sparkle.
but Pumpkin Pixie might just be like a little bit more bold. And Under Your Spell isn't as impressive of a formula, but I really like the shade of it, and I would like to layer with it. Like these two together, I feel like would be such a pretty look. So damn, I want to keep all these too. This is good though. I feel like even though I'm not like over here decluttering left and right, I'm getting reacquainted with these shades and it's making me more excited to use them. Even the way I started this video, like talking about how Pretties for Your Face is so hit or miss, I thought of this palette as being a place where I had a lot of shades I didn't like. And now I'm learning it's a place where I have a lot of shades that I do like. Let's see about these dark shades though, because I never reach into these dark shades. Lullaby, Good Day, Sir, Nitro, Heat Wave. Very interesting. Well, starting off with Lullaby, this like didn't swatch great, and I also don't love the color of this. It just feels kind of like an uneven, chunky gunmetal shadow, so I'm gonna definitely declutter this one. And then as for these other three, this one, Good Day, Sir, I think it was one of like the $18 shadows, but I'm just not that impressed by the look of it, and I think it's just that deep base that's throwing me off, and I don't tend to wear shades with that deep of a base unless there's like something about it that I really like, and I'm just not seeing that. Like, it just doesn't look that special to me. Nitro was a formula that I didn't like the feel of very much. I remember I bought this because it was very highly recommended, and I did like the like multi-chromeness of it, and I like the tone. I feel like I could see this working well to like deepen up a lot of blue looks. And then Heat Wave, I love the berry base in there. It's like definitely a pretty duochrome, but I don't know if it's like sparkly enough that I'm gonna want to wear it. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna declutter Good Day, Sir. The second one here. I feel like I have a handful of shadows with a darker base that I would choose to wear over this one. I don't need it. I'm just trying to ask myself, like, if I'm actually going to reach into the palette and wear either one of these. Because I'm having a hard time parting with either of them. I feel like there's good reasons that I want to keep each of them, but the fact is I just don't wear them. Okay, I stared at the swatches on my arm, and I made a decision. I do want to keep both of these for now. I just feel like I want to give them a chance. I want to try them out. I bet I swatched Heat Wave when I got it, but I just literally don't remember what it looks like on my eyes. And I would like to give it that chance. And if it is like a satiny formula, it kind of looks like a bit satiny, like maybe I'd like it for my lower lash line. I just want to try it out. And then I was looking at all the other swatches because I was thinking that if I don't declutter one of these, then I'm not reaching my goal of 5 Pretties for Your Face shades. And I came back to this guy right there, Broomstick. I think it does look like a pretty shade, but it just feels like a little bit chunkier and looser than I want it to be. And as I was saying when I swatched it, throughout this I've discovered several deeper browns, so I don't need to keep this one. I have other deeper browns that I can use to deepen up looks. You know, I don't have time to like fully test everything, but I just feel like I'd rather spend the time testing out these two much more interesting shades than testing out this deep brown that's not even unique in my collection. So that one is being decluttered. So we have Thankful, Good Day, Sir, Starry Sky, Lullaby, and Broomstick, which is these two right here. Oh, convenient. And these 3 right here. And I'm okay with my sea of greens because they're all so sparkly and nice. And I'm okay with these 2 deeper looking shades because I can actually remember what they are now. I feel like this palette is like way more sorted in my mind than it was when I first opened it today. And I'm really excited to be reacquainted with these shadows.
Welcome to 5 Single Shadows a Day presents The War of the Work Shades. There's a thing that I say pretty often that you may have heard me say before, which is, I could wear this to work. Often I say it when a shadow doesn't meet my requirements or expectations of shift and shine and texture and something to make it like exciting enough to want to wear when I can wear any shadow in the world. I'm like, yeah, I could just wear that one to work. And there's some truth to it. I don't tend to wear as exciting shadows to work. I don't want to be like the person with the crazy eyeshadow while I'm at work. I don't mind in other contexts, but I just don't want my work to be overshadowed with my crazy eyeshadow, at least not yet. But sometimes I wonder if it's a crutch. Like sometimes I wonder if it's me trying to rationalize keeping less exciting shadows. Because there is like a perfect intersection of a work shade. I don't want it to steal the show. I don't want it to be the first thing that you notice about me, but like, I want it to be pretty. I want it to be special. I want it to be a little bit sparkly. I want it to be relatively light in tone. I've worn shades before to work that are like really boring, satiny champagnes, and I just don't like them. I don't have to go that boring. So earlier this month, I pulled out a bunch of shades from my palettes of potential work shades, but I wasn't really sure about them. And throughout the whole month, I've been testing them out and seeing how I feel when I wear them to work. And since this is 5 single shadows a day, the goal is to declutter 5 of these shades. Because although I can wear all of them to work, do I want to? Do I need to? I don't need to have a different neutral work shade for every day of the month, and yet like somehow I do. So the first shadow that I'm going to show you is Silent Blizzard from Divina. And the second I put on my eyes, I was like, this might be harder than I thought it was going to be, because this looked so pretty. You know, I'm looking to declutter, so I'm like, maybe I'll start out strong and I won't like this one. No, this one was gorgeous. It's a light champagne with tons of little yellow sparkle. It looks so beautiful, but something about it not being super like textured or flaky makes me feel like it's wearable for work. I should say also that this is all like within my brain's interpretation of a work shade. Your job might be different, or you might not mind people noticing your eyeshadow the second that they meet you. But yeah, for me, Silent Blizzard felt perfect. If someone's having a conversation with me, sure, they might notice my gorgeous eyeshadow. I would definitely notice that on someone else. But I feel like it's perfectly pretty and shiny without feeling like it's too much. I also wore Crown Flash, which is from Shine by SD in collaboration with Seeking Shifts. And I hadn't worn this one in a while, but I really like this too. It's not as sparkly, but the red reflect in it felt special. It has a red reflect without coming across super colorful, and I really like that. Among the shadows that I pulled into my little palette to try out these neutral shades were the collection from Glaminatrix that I can't think of the name of. I want to say Sparkle Lights, but I also say that the Shine by SD collection was Sparkle Lights. One of those collections was called Sparkle Lights. Either way, I posted a video a while ago when they first came out, and I just did not like them that much. They were meant to be Glaminatrix's contribution to the multicolored sparkle interesting neutral trend, which Shine by SD, by the way, absolutely nailed. And I just felt like the Glaminatrix shades weren't that exciting. They didn't do that much. They didn't have a lot of presence. And I wondered to myself if those would work as work shades, or if they were going to be less exciting than other shades I could get away with for work. So the first one I tried out was Celebration. This one's a champagne, and I'm sure it has some kind of multicolored sparkle in there, but it's just not super obvious. It's not super bold. And on my lid, I felt like it was one step up from like a really boring, satiny neutral in a palette. It was fine. I wasn't like embarrassed to have it on my eye. It just did not bring me any joy at all. So Celebration will be our first declutter. Next, I tried out Sparkle. This one comes off a little bit more pinky or taupey, but I ended up feeling similar about this one, where it's just kind of like doing nothing for me. The first two shadows, while they are neutral and not the boldest shadow in the world, they just felt a little bit exciting, and these Glaminatrix shades don't feel exciting to me, at least not these two. So Sparkle also being decluttered. The next day I continued the trend and I wore Glaminatrix Fireworks, and this one, the moment I put it on, I just felt a little bit different about it. This one I felt like as a work shade, it did hold its own. Something about the sparkle being a little bit more cool toned. In the comparison, it looks like a little bit more purpley, and you could see the difference between the sparkle and the base on that one. And I just felt good about wearing Firework. Is it Fireworks? Fireworks. So this is our first Glaminatrix one that gets to stay. Next, I tried out Andromeda from Luxie. This one I almost decluttered a while ago, a long time ago, and I had decided to keep it kind of last minute. And I assumed that I would want to declutter it, but I really liked it on my eye. It was a little bit deeper than the other shadows I've worn thus far, but I still felt like it was neutral enough that it worked. and it was really pretty and I liked it. It felt like it pushed the boundary a little bit of how intense of a shade I wear to work and kind of evolved my thinking of like, it's fine. No one's gonna call me into their office and send me home because my shadow has a little bit of a brown base to it. This continued the next day with this Adept shadow, and from the look of the pan, it looked like it might be hard panned or something. I kind of assumed it might be like a shell of what it once was, but no. When I put this on my eye that morning before work, I couldn't believe how intense it looked. And then the cool blue sparkle really stands off of this berryish base. It's a color combination that I really like, and the shadows still got it. It never had the sticker on the back of it. This one shade just didn't come with the sticker on, but I think it was like ACD 19, if I had to guess, but Adept doesn't sell their single shadows anymore, but I'm keeping it. I work from home some days, so I don't always put on work makeup and go into the office. And around this time, I was like, oh no, I'm keeping so many of these. Like right now, I have 5 I'm keeping and 2 I'm not keeping. And I have all these other shades that I want to try out. So I was like, I need to just start trying them, not going to work. So I tried Glaminatrix Party, which is this kind of bluish one. Looks like a much more light version of that last Adept one. And Confetti from Glaminatrix, which is a little bit more like lavender. So we have Party and Confetti. And these two I was kind of going back and forth on because I feel like a lot of the times when I record the clips on my phone, because the clips that I've been showing you, it's a combination. Some of them I'm doing on my camera, some of them I'm just doing on my phone. I feel like the phone ones pick up on the sparkle in a way that you're really not going to see unless you're looking at it in like the perfect lighting. Because my first impression when I put those two on was that they looked really pretty. But then I was comparing it in some other lights. I have a clip that I took in my bathroom light, and they started feeling a little bit more flat. So I decided I'd be comfortable decluttering the more purple one, which is Confetti, but I wanted to spend a little bit more time with Party, and we're gonna come back to that one. The next morning before work, I put on Pretty Little Thing from Luxie. You may notice that in the clip, my makeup's not done because I was like, I know right away that I'm not going to keep this. This felt like the pinnacle of that flat, satiny champagne that I was kind of like referencing before. I could wear it to work, but I get nothing out of it. I get no joy out of it. And I have so many beautiful neutrals that fall into that intersection that I don't need to be wearing this. So I was like, I'm not gonna wear it to work. I'm gonna wipe off my makeup. I know I'm decluttering it. And instead I put on Glaminatrix Majestic. And it really is amazing how like quickly I know with some of these. Like I put this on and I'm like, yeah, this is a nice shade. Beautiful neutral taupe. It does have a little bit more base to it than some of these other shades do, but so pretty. I'm not even sure if I ever wore this one other than maybe an ice wash when I first got it. So I feel like I've really discovered a shadow that I'm excited to wear to work a lot. Divina Thalassic. When I first got this, I really liked it, and I've been kind of confused by my relationship with it ever since. This was a little bit of a bold choice to include as a work shade, because it is a little bit more intense. It has like a berry base and like a yellowish greenish shimmer, but it's not like incredibly shiny. I don't think I'll be wearing this to work again. And my conclusion on this one is that I'm just not really sure. I like things about it, but I'm not really sure which role it has in my life if I'm not going to wear it as a work shade and it's not intense enough for me to like want to wear it for fun. But I just feel like I need to test it again. I feel like I'm not ready to part with it just yet, so I am going to hold on to it for now. Then we have Glaminatrix Festive. This is another shade from the same Glaminatrix collection. All of the Glaminatrix shades I talked about are from the same collection other than Majestic. That was from a different collection. But this is one that I put on and I instantly liked. I feel like the PC sparkle is very apparent, and I think the thing is, I like when the shades have a little bit more of a contrast between the sparkle and the base because then it makes the sparkle stand out. And this one, the base looks a little bit more neutral, the sparkle looks a little bit more gold. I like this one. Changeling was part of a collab between Shine BSD and M Jones 5018 and Bizarro Volta. I liked this when I got it as like a neutral multichrome. It kind of reminds me of Forge from Cleona, but it's not as intense. But I hadn't worn it in a while, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like it as much as I thought I liked it years ago. But wearing it on my eyes, I really did like it. It feels like a really special, interesting neutral because it is like brown, but also red. And I think it has some gold and green in specific lighting. Yeah, like to my eye, it looks green. This is another one that I feel like I kind of rediscovered, and I'm really excited to wear it now. And then finally, we come to the look that I have on today. I'm wearing 2 different eyeshadows. Did you notice? On this eye, I have Rosette from Terra Moons, which I've had in my collection for a while. I tried it out once and I wasn't sure about it. It looks really pretty on the pan though, and I always felt like the next time I wear it, I will like it. And that next time never came until today that I'm testing it out. And then I figured I would do kind of a retest of Glaminatrix Party, which is what I have on this eye. It's the one that I was wearing with the purple shade in a previous look. And putting these two on today made me feel like I really do like Glaminatrix Party. This is one, again, that has a contrast between the sparkle and the base. It's not a huge contrast, which probably made me not excited about it when I first tried it out. But as a work shade, I really like it. It reminds me of the other like blue-brown pigment shades, like even that Adept one from before, but a much more subtle version. And I think it's really pretty, and I don't want to declutter it. And then Rosette, I still feel like it looks prettier in the pan than it does on my eye. I don't think of the Glaminatrix side as having a large particle size, but it looks large compared to the particle size of Rosette. I'm happy that I put these on at the same time because they are similar. They have like a little bit of like mauvey warmth in the base and like a blue or teal sparkle, and I just prefer the Glaminatrix. So Rosette, I'm going to declutter. And that's it. 15 shades tested, 10 keeping, 5 decluttering. Celebration, Sparkle, Confetti from Glaminatrix, Pretty Little Thing from Luxie, and Rosette from Terra Moons. And I really do love the look of these 2 rows. I feel like it's helping me narrow down my definition for what I want in a work shade, because I don't want the most boring shadows. I still want something that's like pretty and somewhat exciting, just nothing too deep. And I love that looking at these, I can see the variance in colors. I can see the like blue and the red and the green, and I'm excited to continue wearing these and get to know these shadows better. I guess there's no mystery about which palette we're looking at today because it's literally see-through, so even though it's closed, you can see it. But it's interesting because every time I start to film, I do kind of look at the eyeshadows to get an idea and make sure that there are indeed 5 within the palette that I can declutter. And this is one that I've passed over a lot of times. I'm like, I'll deal with this one at the end. Maybe there's nothing I want to declutter in it, because this is where a lot of, I want to say my newer shades, but like my newer shades as of the end of last year got stored in here. Like I bought new Divina shades around Black Friday of last year, and I have also all of the comparison shadows in here. I have some Cleona and some other neutrals that were emptied out from my most used palette when I decided to change that over. And I have all of these Sparkling Lights shadows from Shanbei SD, which I love. So originally I was like, maybe I'll just talk about this at the end. Maybe there's 1 or 2 shades in here that I want to declutter. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, they're not all safe. You guys aren't all safe. So let me tell you what I decided. First of all, Ube, this little Luxie shade here, I feel like this is one of the most iconic Luxie shades. It's so funny that I still even have this. I went to a haunted house prop convention in St. Louis in, I think, 2023. And I wore this on my eyes, and it was a busy day walking around the convention center. There was a vegan, not vegan, but there was a calzone place that had a vegan option right near it. It was so good. I have very fond memories of being in St. Louis for those couple days. But I was wearing Ube on my eyes, and at the end of the day, when I looked at my face, it was completely just gathered in my crease. And, you know, that does happen sometimes, but I remember, like, it wasn't even, like, it was 10 hours, you know? It was a handful of hours. It wasn't on my eye anymore, and I felt like, why do I have this in my collection when I can't trust it for a couple hours? I can't leave it alone for a couple hours, and while I'm, like, talking to people and doing things and not thinking about it, you know? So it's funny that like I just wasn't in a state of decluttering at that time, so I didn't declutter it, but it's been in my head that next time I do a declutter, I'll get rid of it. Sometimes I have trouble too with accepting that something that was once a favorite is no longer a favorite. So because ube always felt so beloved, it feels like sacrilegious to be getting rid of it. But as I've said, and I love to repeat myself, my eyeshadow collection isn't a record of any eyeshadow that I've ever liked or I've ever bought. I want it to be all shadows that I want to wear, I'm familiar with, are worth being familiar with. So ube had its time. It had a lot of shots, but it let me down and I can say goodbye to it. The next one among the sea of beauty is this little guy down here. This is Sweet Slush from Divina, and it looks so pretty in the pan. I love this tone of pink, but I just feel like I have so many pinks, and this is a very like, I don't know, like a very straight up normal light pink. And I just don't reach for it. Oh, it looks so pretty in my hand, but I knew this. I knew going into this palette that all of these shades look really pretty to me, and I don't wear it. I'm seeing like a flash to it that I never like think of as being there. But alright, I'm falling down a rabbit hole of being like, ooh, but it's pretty. The thing is, I don't wear it. It's a little bit too colorful, or like the formula is a little bit too chunky for me to want to wear on my inner corner. It's a little bit too plain for me to wear all over my lid. I want to compare it to another favorite I have in here. This is Soleil's from Divina, which if you've been watching for a while, you may know this is like my favorite inner corner shade of all time. The formula is more subdued, which makes it perfect for my inner corner. And you can see it's like a similar tone, but much more of like a silky formula. So I have pinks. I have beautiful light pinks that do what I want them to do. Maybe even the same reasons that I'm feeling like a little sad right now. Those are the same reasons that made me purchase it. I looked at it on the website. I made a decision to add it to my collection because it is a nice, pretty pink, but I've learned from owning it. The shades in this palette have been forefront in my makeup collection for the last year, and I know I haven't reached for it in a long time because I had made my mind up a long time that it's just not conducive to the looks that I do. So of course it's pretty. That's why I bought it. I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't like it, but I have the information now, and I know I can declutter it. Okay, and then the exciting revelation that I had, okay, is about these Sparkle Lights shades. These released in 2024. They're from Shine by SD. They're like really beautiful neutrals that have so much sparkle. They have multicolored sparkle. Some of them have shifts to them also. And I was just reviewing my footage today. I have an initial video. I'll try to remember to link these down below. I'm bad at linking, but I will try to remember to link these down below. I have an initial video from mid-2024 where I picked out the 5 that I thought were most beautiful and I ice watched them and I absolutely loved them. I wore them so much. So at the end of the year, I was like, let me just buy the rest of them. I love the first 5 so much, I'll love the rest of them. And so I did. I think there was one out of stock, so there's one still that isn't represented in my collection, but I bought the rest of them, and I was just watching that video, and the rest of them, you know, they're still nice shadows. They're still nice shadows, but they weren't quite as exciting as the first 5. And I feel like ever since 5 Sparkle Light shadows became this entire wall of Sparkle Light shadows, I haven't been reaching for any of them as much. That's just what happens. If I'm too overwhelmed, if I can't just look at something and like know exactly what it is, I just don't reach for it. So based on those eye swatches, I have an idea of what I can get rid of. But also, should I just swatch all of them for fun? Should I? I think there is one that's out of place here. I think this is Ice Blink. Yeah, this is Shine by SD in collaboration with Seeking Shifts Ice Blink. I'm not going to swatch this one today because it's actually not a Sparkle Light shadow. These are all my Sparkle Light shadows. And I'm going to start by swatching the ones that I like the best, that I'm like most confident they're staying. Glow, Gleam Stream, Glow Up, and Flash. So I think that kind of gives you an idea of what we're working with. This, like, to me is like the tippy top of beautiful, interesting neutrals. I love these so much. These 4 especially are so beautiful. Incandescent, Scintillating, Stunner, Tease.
Oh, they're also beautiful. Can you even? Do people still say can you even?
Okay, and I think I did conveniently swatch the 8 that I'm thinking I'm going to want to keep, and the 3 that looked the weakest from swatches, I conveniently have up here to swatch last.
Charm, lavish, twinkling. Yeah. I think especially with these two, you could see the big formula difference. I think Charm was the weakest from my initial batch, and Lavish was the weakest from my second batch. I had said in that video that I just rewatched today that, like, in the first batch, I was sad that I didn't get Lavish. Like, after I'd ordered it and when I was waiting for it, I kept on seeing swatches of Lavish and being like, oh, I wish I had it. And in the eye swatch video where I noticed that it was a weaker shade, I had some comments about batch discrepancies, about ones that I had swatched and they had ordered and they did not look like the swatch that I had. I think I got a bad batch of Lavish because you can see it's just so much incredibly weaker than all of the other shades. So yeah, these two I'm definitely going to declutter. And then Twinkling, I agree with my logic that I had back then. The formula of the last 3, it's the best. It's the strongest. It has like the most oomph to it. But to me, it just looks like a weaker version of Twinkling. It's like very similar in tone. And this just has like a little bit more texture to it. And I love the texture of these shades, you know? I'd rather reduce my decision fatigue. I'd rather only have one shade of this super sparkly lavenderness. And I feel like Tease has the extra benefit of having like a little bit of depth to it, like a little bit of berry to the base. Maybe this one does too, but like there's more so in this one. And I just really like that. So I'm going to declutter Charm, Lavish, and Twinkling from the Shine by SD Sparkle Lights collection. And doesn't this look so good? Like, I really feel like now that I know I've gotten rid of the extras in this collection, the things that were just clogging it up, and I have these 8 super special, gorgeous sparkle lights, I'll probably rearrange them in an order and then just like try to remember. Like, I'll try to put them in an order that makes sense. Maybe like coolest to warmest or something. And then I can use them again. And I'm so excited because I loved using them when I was using them a lot. And they deserve to be used because they're some of the most special shades in my whole collection. I stand by that. So today we're decluttering Luxie Ube, Divina Sweet Slush, Shine by SD Charm, Shine by SD Lavish, Shine by SD Twinkling. I don't think I gave you this close-up angle of these before. Oh my god, look at the multicolored sparkle in that one. These shades are out of this world. Wow. Which one even was this one again? Stunner. You're telling me. Pretty little guys, but you gotta go. And now we, my friends, are nearing the end. That's right, December is almost over. And while I do think I'm still going to have more to discover and declutter in 2026, I feel like I've done a lot of the, I guess I could say easier decluttering, like more obvious decluttering of shadows that I don't have to like fully test out. And all that to say, I'm no longer at a stage where I can just like pick up any palette of my single shadows and be like, yeah, there's definitely 5 in here to declutter. Maybe there would be if I had like full time to discover and try on my eyes and everything, but it's less obvious. So all that to say, I think with these 2 palettes, I can declutter 5 shades. And if all goes to plan, this might actually end up being a shorter episode. So this palette is mostly mattes. I definitely have decluttered way less mattes this year than I have shimmers. And I think that's because A, I have way more shimmers because shimmers are like infinitely more exciting, but also B, I feel like my mattes are going to be a bigger project where like next year I'm going to put them all together in a palette, see where I have overlap, maybe test them out, and that's the kind of thing I don't have time for this month. But in this palette, there's definitely some that I know I'm not going to be reaching for, and I want to first talk about these Dandelions shades. I know people love Dandelions Cosmetics. And I think it just comes back to different matte preferences. My preference when it comes to mattes are
pigmented but buildable shades. I want to be able to put my brush down in my eye, get some color payoff, blend it without fallout, build it up as need be. That's like my ideal preference. And I know other people want them to be as pigmented as possible. And I think for them to be as pigmented as possible, you need them to have a more powdery finish or like a less pressed formula. So I think it's those people that prefer like as pigmented as possible that recommended Dandelion's Cosmetics. And I just don't reach for them. I feel like they're harder to work with. And some of the more unique colors, like I have this cornflower blue. This is Winkle. And actually I wore Frankenstein makeup once. I should post a picture of that on Instagram. Maybe I'll post a picture of that right here, right now. This was like a savior in making that look because it was such an easily pigmented periwinkle blue, and Jacob Elordi had a lot of blue in his face in that movie. So I don't want to declutter Winkle because it came in handy, but these crease colors are what I reach into the most when I'm using a matte. And because I have so many crease colors that are so easy to work with, I don't want to deal with fallout in crease colors. So this is Shortbread and Snickerdoodle. Shortbread, Snickerdoodle. I really love the color, especially of Snickerdoodle, but I just know that with my extensive collection of mattes, with all of my crease colors that I love wearing, I don't reach for these. So those two are being decluttered. And then the other one that I see in this palette that's sticking out to me is Sydney Grace Meadow. Now, I mentioned this shade when I got this Bizarre Botanicals palette from Dyveruin Cosmetics because it has the shade Sneezewood that reminded me a lot of Sydney Grace Meadow. Sydney Grace Meadow, I've kept around because I love the color of it, but literally every time I've tried to wear it, I'm disappointed. It just like doesn't come up that well. I think this color is kind of messing with the camera a little bit because I think it looks a little bit lighter in camera than it does on my finger. But look, it like barely swatches. Let's try again, okay? Nice swirly swirly in the pan. All right, we see that on the finger. Okay, that was a little bit better. Okay, that was actually way better. Way better than I was thinking it was going to be. But still, I have to work with it. It's not as pigmented. And even though I was just saying I like harder pressed shadows, there's nice mattes that kind of like are best of both worlds for me. Like the Luxie mattes, for example. And I know this is sad because we can't get Luxie mattes anymore, but most of these in this palette are Luxie mattes. And for me, those are like the perfect intersection of pigmented and blendable, and they don't have fallout. The Sydney Grace one doesn't have fallout, but it's harder to work with. And I pulled out this Dyveruin one because I wanted to compare Sneezeweed to it. I think Sneezeweed might be a little darker. I think it looks a little more swampy in the camera, but altogether a pretty similar shade. And I think it's similar enough for me to feel comfortable decluttering Meadow. And anytime I would use Meadow, I'll just use Sneezeweed because this formula is so beautiful. I haven't used the Dyveruin mattes enough to make like a blanket statement and say that like they're as good as Luxie, but I know they're a formula that I like. I know that they are also somewhere within that intersection of pigmented and blendable, and it doesn't have fallout. So yeah, Meadow can be decluttered. Okay, and the next palette I figured we would take a look in today is this Hecate palette again. And this palette that mostly has Pretty Sphere face shades. I also recently added the winners of the Shadow Showdown in here. So most of these have been swatched recently, but as I was looking at this and only thinking about Pretty Sphere face shades, I saw out of the corner of my eye a couple of other shadows that aren't Pretty Sphere face, so I didn't swatch, that I think I could maybe declutter. And I'm talking about these two greens from Divina. These were both in a palette that they released, I think in 2024, and I bought the shimmer singles from it instead of buying the whole palette. So this is Banevine and Thorn Shade, and I don't think I've touched these since making a video eye swatching them. Banevine, Thorn Shade. Yeah, you know, they're pretty greens, but as I've said, I'm very picky about my green shimmers. I used to say I don't like green shimmers that much, and I realized
I do. I really do like wearing green on my eye, but I'm just very particular about the greens that I like wearing. And neither of these are really singing out to me that much. They're like a little bit duller than I tend to wear. I don't know the formula of them, like it is sparkly, like they have a nice sparkle to it, but it just doesn't feel as special as some of the greens that I have. And I think it does say a lot that I got them like pretty recently, considering the fact that I haven't bought that many single shadows in 2025. Purchasing these at the end of 2024 is kind of recent. I have been wearing a lot of the shades I purchased in that time, but not these shades. So yeah, I can declutter these two Divina shades. I can't believe this did go exactly as planned. Like, I looked at these palettes, I was like, I think I can declutter these 5, and sometimes as I swatch and I talk through it, plans change, but no, today the plan stayed the same. So we have Dandelion Snickerdoodle and Shortbread, Sydney Grace Meadow, and Davina Thornshade and Banevine. Thornshade, Banevine, Meadow, Snickerdoodle, Shortbread.
Welcome to 5 Single Shadows a Day presents Electrum's Elimination. If you've been following along on my channel, I've had a complicated relationship with Electrum. They are an indie single shadow brand. I'm sure most of you watching already know that. And they make some really intense, sparkly, multi-chromatic shadows. My complaint over time is I feel like a lot of the shadows are like almost too sparkly, and the formula of them just doesn't work that well for me. I like something that has an easier to use formula. I don't use glitter glue. I don't like to be really patient and slow with my makeup. I love like sparkly, intense makeup, but I also like doing my makeup in 5 minutes. And it just felt like for me, Electrum and my style of makeup just like don't go together. Was that a good visual representation? I'm really trying something here. I was watching a video where someone was doing like more editing and I was like, I literally don't have time for that. So this is my special effects. But my relationship with Electrum has been complicated because I've found that when I order certain formulas, I have better luck. I feel like a lot of their newer shades I've had better luck with than their older shades. So I did end up kind of like coming around to them. But a lot of Electrum shades I have in my collection, I'm like, I'm pretty sure when I tried this, I didn't like this. I'm pretty sure I've had this for a while. Like, I don't want to wear it recreationally if I feel like I'm not going to like it when I do. So throughout the month, I've been testing my Electrum shades, and the goal is to declutter 5 of them today. A side note, yesterday was Christmas. I run every day. I fell yesterday. So I have band-aids on my hands, also on my knee, but you're not going to see my knee in this video, so I really didn't have to tell you that. But the nice thing is usually when I fall and I hit my knee, my pants rip, and it's really annoying because then I have to like get rid of those pants. I could stitch them up, but then like I'd have like a seam on the knee and like that's annoying too. Whatever. I didn't rip my pants. I only ripped my knee. So that's good. So let's go through some clips I've taken this month and review what we got going on. First up is Aster. This is one that I purchased a while ago and I remember not really liking it. The first clip I'm going to show you is right when I put it on because I wanted to show you the fallout that I had on my face. It's like a very chunky shade and I don't really like shades that then I have to like clean up my face as I'm doing my makeup, you know? But at the same time, I was a little bit torn because it is exactly in the color profile that I like. I'm always saying I love shades that are in between purple and pink. And this is like in between, but also kind of both. Like the base looks a little bit more purple, the sparkle is a little bit more pink. Altogether, it occupies that space in between. Really pretty. And I was really thinking hard about it as I was using this. But the conclusion that I came to is that because I love this color, I have other shades in this color that I love more. I love Divina Nocturne Ash, and even though that's one of my favorite shadows, because I have such a large collection, I probably only wear that like once a month or once every other month, something like that. So like it felt logical to me that I would keep Aster because it's that shade that I like, but it's much more logical to get rid of Aster to wear the shade I like in a formula that I like more. So this is my little chunkster here. And I'm going to be decluttering it. It's so pretty though. So pretty and reflective and shiny. And I think other people out there who are more patient and like using glitter glues would have good luck with this. It's just not for my preferences. Next up, I tried Crescent. This is one of the more recent ones that I've gotten from them, and I don't even think I bought any this year. So more recent meaning like 2024 and not before it. But in that collection, which actually I did post an Eye Swatch video, I can try to remember to link that down below. I'm realizing now that I've said that in other videos and I haven't linked down below a single video this month, and I don't even know what videos those were. But I had picked up a couple like interesting neutrals in there that I really liked. The formulas felt more consistent to like a nice formula that I'd get from a different brand, like from Cliona. It's such like a pretty kind of wet look, cool tone champagne. Oh, I love that. And this is a shade that even though I had a positive feeling about when I first bought it, in my like confusing feelings about Electrum, I just felt like I wasn't reaching for any Electrum shades. And this feels like a rediscovery to me. I'm so excited to wear this more. And then next up, also in the same video, is Illuminated. This one's a little bit different of a formula. This one feels more like a hollow shade. It's not quite as shiny, but it still is like super interesting. And it is still sparkly. You know, it's just not as like wet look reflective as Crescent is. But I love that even besides the holochromeness, it just looks like a silver to red multichrome, and it's so interesting. This one I did do a follow-up clip later that night because I have found that with these Electrum shades, again, I don't wear glitter glue, so if you do wear glitter glue, your mileage may vary, but I found that these Electrum shades, they don't last as long as some of my other shades do. Some of my shades that are like a little bit more powdery, like the drier a shade is, the longer it tends to last. So a lot of these Electrum shades, if I wore them for a long day, they were kind of like off my lid and gathered in the crease by the end of the night. Not my favorite thing, but if it's kind of like a rule across the board for Electrum that I can remember, then I'm kind of like okay with that. Like they have maximum impact, but just not maximum staying power. So I'm not going to wear these shades when I need a shade to look perfect for 12 hours. But I can wear these shades for like a night out where it needs to look good for like a couple hours, or a situation where like I kind of just don't care what it looks like many hours later. So just something to note. Next up is Bloodbath. This is kind of like a multicolored one. I feel like this has been a big trend recently. Brands coming out with these shades that like look like different colors in the pan, and then you kind of mix them together on your finger and they come out to be like the summation of the colors in the pan. I have some of these from a Diveroon palette that I recently got, and those I think look really nice. But this Electrum shade, in my experience, again, I could probably try harder, but I just feel like they don't mix that easily. And perhaps you can see from the video, it just feels like more splotchy. Like the Diveroon shades, I have shades that kind of look like this, and they come out as pink. And to me, this looks like a little bit red, a little bit silver, a little bit of like a streak of red in the silver, and it just doesn't come out evenly, and I'm not going to keep it. The next shade that I wore is You're the Worst. This is a blue that I had talked about in that Eye Swatch video. I just rewatched that today, so it's like top of mind. And I even said in that video that it's not the most exciting. Like I was kind of raving more about the other shades that I was talking about than I was about this one. It's a nice blue, but I mean, if you watch the Battle of the Blues earlier this month, I have so many beautiful blues that I'm so excited about. It's another shade of eyeshadow that I love wearing. And I thought this one would be an easy declutter, and I wore it and I liked it. You know, something I was talking about in the blue video is there's some blues that I have that are a little bit more prevalent, like their flip, the contrast to blue is a little bit more obvious, and I was less excited about the ones that the contrast to blue looks a little bit more like neutral or silver, and this is one that I feel like the contrast does look silver. It looks like a silver on top of a blue, even though I think it does have like possibly some multicolored sparkle, like some some things that are a little bit more interesting going on. I feel like I could do a comparison. I could look at it next to my other blues. But the fact is, I wore it and I liked it. Like, and when I was wearing it, I didn't feel like, oh, I should probably go out of my way to convince myself to get rid of this. I just felt like, I like this. I don't know. It's complicated because maybe I would have liked wearing the Cosmos more, but all I know is the day that I was wearing this, I liked wearing this. So maybe I will end up doing more comparison in the future, or maybe I will one day, like, put this on one eye and the Cosmos on another eye and talk myself into wanting to get rid of this. But sometimes I just don't want to go through, like, the mental gymnastics of convincing myself to get rid of things, because I'm like, all I know is that I wore this and I liked it, and I want to keep it. And this was the start of me getting a little bit nervous, because this was one that I thought for sure I would wear it, and then it would be something that I would be sure that I would be decluttering in this video. And I was like, well, surely there'll be more things to make up for that. For instance, the next shade, which is Conjuring. This is one that I think when I got it, I was disappointed because it was darker in the base than I thought it would be. I think that's the story that I'm remembering. But I wore it on my eyes and I liked it. Maybe it was deeper than I expected, but it's still not that deep of a shadow. It's that, like, between pink and purple that I really like. It has an orange reflect to it that I really like. I was complaining recently about purples that shift yellow, and I feel like this is a perfect alternative to it, and it's so pretty. And I want to keep it. And I was like, oh no, here's two shades that I thought maybe I would declutter both of them, and I don't want to declutter either of them. And what's happening with me in Electrum? The next shade was also one that I thought I might be decluttering. This is, so they have misfits. It's kind of like they're one-off shades. They don't offer them for long periods of time. You buy them and they're not available again. So this is M203. It's not as full in the pan as any of my other shades are. Like, here's it next to Conjuring. I just thought that was kind of interesting. So I was like, you know, it looks kind of dinky in my palette. I don't remember, like, liking it. So, you know, I'll try it and maybe I'll want to declutter it. I tried this, and guess what? I really liked it. This one kind of reminded me of a slightly more intense version of Diveroon's Stray Cat, because it's like purple in the base and it's orange in the shimmer, but this one, yeah, you could see so clearly all of that multicolored shimmer in it. And this formula is, like, really far from flaky. Like, this is probably one of their least textured shades. It doesn't really even, like, disrupt the pan when I pick some up. And my biggest complaint with Electrum has always been their shades being too flaky and hard to use. So here's one that's, like, not flaky at all, and it's a color combination that I think is really interesting. So you can imagine, at this point, as I'm trying out all these Electrum shades, and I'm like, surely there'll be 5 to declutter, I was really freaking out after 3 in a row that were on the chopping block, finding themselves in the keep pile. The next one I tried out was Poisoned Love. This is also one of the more smooth ones that I had tried in the batch where I ended up liking all of them. And I love a berry base. It's a very smooth, easy to work with formula, and I love the color combination. The green shimmer on top really, like, stands out and looks so beautiful. And this is where I'm gonna throw a wrench into things, because putting this on made me realize that there's another shade we've already talked about this month that I should declutter. This was in my work shadow video, because as I've been trying out Electrum shades when I'm not going to work, I've been trying out work shades as I've gone to work. And that video already went up last week, but in it I was talking about Divina Thalassic, which I like because it's a pretty shadow, it's a beautiful berry base, but the shimmer on top isn't the most extreme or showy. I had decided in that video that the base was a little bit too deep for me to want to wear to work, and I was kind of like, I don't really know what setting I'm going to want to wear this in, and putting on this Electrum shade made me realize that, like, for my own recreational uses, I keep on saying recreational today, I would rather wear the Electrum shade than wear Divina Thalassic. They're, you know, a similar vibe in the base color, but I just like the shimmer color and the shimmer finish on the Electrum shade better. So although this isn't decluttering an Electrum shade, this Electrum shade helped me realize that I should declutter this Divina shade. And then to a holiday party last weekend, I wore Lyra. This was one of the first shades I ever got from Electrum. It was in my first order. It had been recommended in a comment, and that commenter knocked it out of the park because this is still one of my favorite shadows. This is an Electrum shade that's like, it's never let me down. Like, I've always known what it is. It's like this bluish gray, and the multichrome isn't even looking that intense in this lighting, but it does look intense in other lightings. So as I said, I was running out to a party when I put this on, and I realized I forgot to take a video at my vanity. So I took like a really quick video, just like looking up at my light, and you can't really see the shifts in it. And then I got to my boyfriend's house, and as I was waiting for him to finish getting ready, I was laying down and I took a little quick video of it on my eyes. And in that video, you can really see the multichrome, the like intense green shift to it. It looks so incredible. I think the first video was with no flash, and then I took a second video of it with flash. And I just love the shade. The shade is my little baby. It's still my favorite Electrum shade. Such an incredible shadow. The next one that I wore was Hocus Pocus. This is another one that was on the chopping block because I remember when I first got it, I wasn't crazy about it. And like, you know, sometimes it's just like you try something out for the first time and it's not what you were expecting, and it's hard to separate the like reality of whether or not you like what's in front of you from the disappointment of what's in front of you not being what you were expecting. You know what I mean? Because I remember just not really thinking favorably about this. This is weird because this is like a wet rock shadow. Like, you rub your finger in, you don't feel any texture, but then like voila, you have some shimmer on your finger. So I bet right off the bat, I was like, this isn't the texture I like. What's going on here? But the swatch of it is so interesting. The base, I can't even put my finger on what exactly the base is. It kind of looks like a light forest green. I'm not really sure. And then the shimmer to it, it looks like this pinky purpley glow. It's super interesting. And I like this type of shade that is like an intense multichrome, but something about the base, like it just doesn't feel too heavy. So I feel like it's more wearable in more situations. It's an intense multichrome and sparkle, but it also feels a little bit sheer, and I really like that about it. This video was on the train because I went to the city wearing this, and I, again, didn't have time to take a video of my eyeshadow in my vanity, but I feel like the train lighting is showing off kind of like the sparkle and the multichrome of it all. I really feel like this video, more than any of the others, has like made me discover shades in my own collection. It's expanded my own collection. Like, I'm decluttering shades, but I'm also expanding my collection at the same time because now I'm learning these shades that have just been like completely looked over. Next is Lucid. This is Electrum's kind of like fairy fire shadow. I feel like every brand has a shade like this that kind of looks like a yellow base, but it's very sheer, and it has like a beautiful green wet look sparkle to it. And this one is really nice because it is like a smoother formula, but it also feels like it has enough to it that it looks good all over my lid, as opposed to other iridescence or iridescent-esque shadows in my collection that just don't feel like they have enough presence to wear on my lid. This one does, and I actually did end up wearing this one to work because I had already posted my work shadow video, and it was my last day in office before Christmas, so I'm like, I feel like today is the day for like a fun eyeshadow, and it was totally cool, and I felt good wearing it. Such a pretty shade. The next one is Can You Not? This is one that I had raved about in the eye swatch video because it's more neutral than a lot of the other Electrum shades that I had tried up to this point. It's like a really pretty bronze, but it's also copper, but it's also gold, but it's also kind of red, and it has like a bit of a green flash to it too in certain lights. A really like easy to wear multichrome that's not super light. Really pretty shadow. And then the next day, which was Christmas, which as I'm filming was yesterday, I wanted to wear Resting Beach Face. I actually, small side tangent, this year I had I had intended to write down the shadow I was wearing every day. I started it earlier this year, and like sometime around the summer, I just kind of like fell off from doing it. I had thought I was going to be able to do like some cool videos, some cool like data videos, and I fell off from collecting the data. But the day earlier this year when I wore this, I actually like put a smiley face next to it. Like I wanted to remember I really liked this one. Like I was really impressed when I wore this shade. And that act of like thinking about what to put down in my notebook to remember that I really liked it has helped me remember that I really like this one. So I was excited to wear it on Christmas. And I have this little Cleona shade that I just got a Cleona order in, and they gave me this shade as a little gift with purchase. I think it was part of the Dragon Fruit palette, and I wore this on the inner and outer, and I wore Resting Beach Face on the center, and kind of over the whole thing to kind of like tie it all in. And it's such a pretty shadow. This also, I didn't have a chance to take my video of it before I left my house, so I took this in the backseat of my parents' car. But you can see like the flips to it, and like every time a turn is made, you see like a different color in it. I really like this shade. I felt so good wearing this yesterday. So you might be thinking what I'm thinking, which is, so we're all the way up to yesterday, Hannah, and we've decluttered 3 shadows, but this series is actually called 5 Single Shadows a Day, so where's the other ones? Well, let me tell you. I have these 2 silver looking Electrum shades that I wasn't feeling super good about. Like I know I had tried them when I first got them, and I wasn't that excited, and I don't think I've worn them since. So I was like, okay, let me do a look, and I'll put one on each eye so I can compare and see which one's better. However, I was nervous because I was like pretty much every other shade that I've tried out this month, thinking it was on the chopping block, thinking there's a good chance I'm going to want to declutter it. I was like, oh no, this is actually really pretty. So first I tried out M100. This is another one of their Misfit shades. And this one is a pretty sheer shadow, a pretty silvery shadow. It does have some multicolored sparkle to it, but it feels a lot less intense than a lot of these other ones, and it feels a lot less interesting than some of these other neutral shades. I think I'm also just not that excited about silvers, but I put this on and I was like, yeah, this isn't exciting. On my other eye, I tried out Crystal Comet, and this one instantly when I pick it up, I can like see all the flakes to it. The formula of it feels most similar to Aster, which was that first one that has like a really intense, flaky formula. Again, if you're someone that likes glitter glue, it has the capacity to be like one of the most intense shades ever, but for me, I don't like working with the formula. And also, the color to me isn't exciting enough to want to like make any provisions for it. I'm just not that big of a silver girl. Like I love cool tone shades, but I want them to have more color. And whenever they feel like just straight up silver, I'm like, eh. So thankfully, I'm going to declutter both M100 and Crystal Comet. Literally last night, as I was like thinking that I was going to be filming this video today, I was talking to my boyfriend and I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I literally don't have that many Electrum shades to declutter. Am I going to like pop up at the end and be like, I'm only decluttering 3 Electrum shades, but like, here's 2 random ones I'm gonna declutter? Or like, am I just gonna make this like 3 single shadows today? But yeah, I tried those out and I didn't like them. And I was like, I don't even have to, like my plan was I was just gonna do my makeup around those, but I put them on and I instantly knew I wasn't gonna want to keep them. So I was like, let me wipe that off and put on a different look. So let me tell you about what is on my eyes. I've had all of these Electrum shades on the bottom of this palette that is mostly Terra Moon shades. So I pulled out this one, which is Atlantis. It's a really old Terra Moon shade, but it's like a really pretty like steel blue shimmer. So I put that on my inner and outer and my lower lash line on both eyes. And in the center, I used Prism. Prism is a more difficult shade. Like, it is one of those shades that has all these different colors together. It is a very flaky shade that needs a little bit more babying, but I was able to go on gently and I didn't have that much like flaking on my face. Like, it really didn't make a mess. And I thought it was interesting because you can see the different colors to it, but it felt more unified than the other like marbled shade from before, Bloodbath, did. Like, this is a shade that feels like it makes sense for that formula. Oh, it is funny that the swatch did the thing, and the swatch has like a stripe of pinky red at the bottom, but I do feel like it worked out well on my eye. It gave like a pretty multi-dimensional shimmer in the center without being too flaky, and I do like how it turned out, and I'm going to keep it. So the ones that I'm decluttering are Aster and Bloodbath from Electrum, the Lassic from Divina, and M100 and Crystal Comet from Electrum. Yeah, I mean, let me just reiterate, I'm so relieved because I've truly been worrying about this, like, probably for the last, like, week and a half or so, like, ever since I realized that all of the ones that I thought I might declutter, I even thought, like, originally, I had separated the Electrum shades in that palette in the pile of, like, the ones I'm pretty confident I'm gonna be keeping and the ones that I'm not sure about. And I was, like, wearing both sides, but I was like, as long as I can get to 5 that I'm pretty sure I'm going to declutter, like, I'm good to go. So as I kept on trying ones from the side of the shades that I'm not sure about and being like, oh no, I actually really like this, like, it's good for me, but just like, this video might not go the way that I want it to go, but we got there, and I'm so excited and relieved, and yeah, it's like, it's the best possible outcome because I was able to reach my goal, but I was also able to discover and appreciate shades that I already have, and I'm so excited. Like, mostly for these neutrals and for these, like, purplies with orange shimmer. Oh, and I didn't get around to using these two. These were both on the side of, like, I know I'm gonna keep them, but it's Shake Your Pom-Poms and Stargazer. Shake Your Pom-Poms, Stargazer. So many beautiful Electrum shades that I'm going to keep and wear and cherish now. And that's going to be everything for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. There are a lot of comparison and trial and decluttering videos on my channel from this month, and still, at least one more to come.
Hi, welcome back to this developing story. You're watching the exciting series finale to
Hey, we don't really do bits here.
What?
I said we don't really do bits here. This is a pretty low-key makeup channel.
I mean, I'm already dressed up and, filming it. Can I just finish what I was saying?
Okay, you have like 30 seconds. I'm sorry, I didn't know.
As I was saying, you're watching tonight's exciting
Series finale to 5 single shadows a day.
Which ones will she declutter? Which ones will she cherish? You'll have to stay tuned to find out, but
This might just be the most dramatic video yet.
we're all so excited to see what happens. Let's pop over to the field to see what real fans are saying.
Oh yeah, I really like Hannah's eyeshadow videos. I was watching this one the other day and she decluttered a Teo Moonshadow, and I was like, that's really cool because not everyone would just declutter a Teo Moonshadow, but she did, so I thought that was really cool. Hey man, you got a buck? Can I ask you a few questions? I wanted to ask you about Hot Vegan Hannah's shadow series. No, I'm not cheating on you. There's some weird lady talking to me. HVH? Oh my god, I love her videos. So there's a new one coming out? I'm definitely gonna watch. My boyfriend Brad, like, dies when she brings her cat into a video, cause, like, he's allergic. Well, you've heard it here, folks. Let's see how the swatch party goes down tonight. You're not gonna wanna miss this. Signing out, I'm Shanna, and you're watching Hot Vegan Hannah. Oh, it's my turn? All right. Well, I think she pretty much covered most of it. It's the series finale of 5 Single Shadows a Day, so let's switch over my hands and see which shades are being decluttered today.
When your palettes are full and your shadows are dull, 5 single shadows a day. When your collection's huge but your time is used, 5 single shadows a day.
You know it's a big day when all the palettes are out. Also, my cat is right above my filming setup, so I'm really hoping she's not going to want to relocate, which sometimes she does. Sometimes she's like,
Oh, what are you doing over there? That seems like a great place for me to sleep. So we'll just cross our fingers that she stays where she is. Originally, my plan was to do 20 videos, and I would declutter 5 single shadows in each, and that would bring us to a total of 100 over the course of the month. But I threw that idea out when I decided to do a custom palette on Christmas instead of a 5 single shadows a day video. However, a couple days I did declutter more than 5. I have all the previously decluttered ones in these 2 palettes. Some of them are such a mess. Some of them are like, just like out. They're just out of their pan. But I counted up the amount that I have already decided to declutter, and there are 93 here because of the couple days where I decluttered an extra one. So I was thinking in this, the finale video, if I could find 7 to declutter, then I actually will make my original goal of 100. So that's the plan, and I'm actually unsure if it's going to be difficult or not. There's definitely some palettes that I've gone through and I've been like, oh, I can't believe I forgot to declutter that shade. But is there going to be 7 of those? I'm not sure. Like this palette, they're all gorgeous, beautiful models, and I'm trying to do a thorough scan, and nothing's popping out at me to be decluttered. There are a couple, like this Menagerie one, this Adept Matte, that like, if I need to find more to declutter, I could come back here and swatch them. But I'm wondering how much I can declutter without like really trying, you know, without really like searching for ones to declutter. Same with this palette. We just talked about this one the other day, and I'm hoping that most of these mattes can stay until I can do some more comparisons next year. This is the palette that will hopefully once again be my iridescent palette. Oh, and actually there is one in here that I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't see it. I feel like you guys are probably so sick of hearing about these, so I'm so sorry to kick off the video this way. Well, I guess we probably already kicked off the video in more exciting ways, so this isn't even the kickoff. This copacetic shade. Yeah, I had said when I decluttered one a while ago, I was like, I'm finally, like, I'm so excited to have decluttered all of these copacetic flakies. Nope, there was one right in the middle of this palette that I just didn't notice. This is Nocturnal Wings. It's actually not as crazy as some of the other flakies, but it feels like it could be dry. It swatches like uneven pieces of glitter. This little swatch, like, it reminds me of the color of Cleona Abrasion, and I have Cleona Abrasion, so I'm gonna declutter this. Okay, off to a good start. That wasn't too painful, and I don't see anything else in here that's immediately standing out to be decluttered. I do have this crease shade that's so light that I don't know how much I like using it, but I'd like to try it. I'd like to try it and see, and I haven't gotten around to that yet. This is my shades from Bella Beauté Bar and a couple comparisons from the video that I posted not too long ago. What's in here? Oh, I think I just needed to make room and I just stuck some shades in here. But I think these shades in particular were together because I love mixing like yellows and goldish shades and making like a honey neutral look. I bet I gathered those all together last time I did that. What about here? The only thing in here I'm like maybe about is this blue. I think this is a Luxie blue that was in a different location, so it had escaped the comparisons that I did when I went through my Luxie palettes. And I actually think this swatch is enough for me to want to declutter it without even having to compare. This is Adonis. The thing that I don't like about this is I feel like the blue has a lot of yellow in the shimmer, and as I've said, I'm very particular with yellow in shades, and like yellow and blue, I just don't like it together. I'd rather reach for a light blue shimmer like this that's more true blue. And I know I did keep one in that Luxie palette that is more of a true blue, so I can declutter this. That feels good. Okay, this is what's left over from my neutral palette, and there are a lot of shades in here that were purposely put in for that, but there's a couple that I'm like, I definitely didn't include them, and they just kind of got stuck in here at some point. Like these 2 shades. And also, there's another Luxie blue that I think probably also got stuck in here. Cold Hearted
extra if you know, you know. You know, Cold Hearted's interesting because it's so bold. The formula isn't very exciting. It kind of feels a little bit like tacky, a little bit like thick. And I'm kind of going back and forth on it. Cause like on the one hand, I'm like, I could keep it. It's a nice, bright, true blue. But then I'm thinking about this with like the other blues I've swatched this month. Like, for instance, I just decided to keep that Electrum blue. And even that one, I'm not sure if it's as good as some of my most exciting blues. And the tone of this does kind of remind me of the Electrum blue, but it doesn't have anything special going on. I think I'm going to declutter all three of these. I think I'm in a good mood to make this video. Sometimes decluttering things just feels a lot harder than other days, but today it doesn't feel so bad. And we've actually already got into 5, and I feel like I just started this video. I've only opened like probably not even half my palettes. This is going good. Are we gonna end up decluttering more than 7? Okay, these shades are actually all safe because this is the palette that I just made on Christmas. I like all of these. I've been reaching into this in the couple days since making it, and I'm so excited to keep reaching into it. I love this. I did such a good job. I would pat myself on the back if my fingers weren't all covered in shimmer. Okay, this is the palette that I feel like I went into a bunch of times. Prettiest for Your Face, and the winners from the, what was I calling it? What was I calling it?
12 seconds later.
The Shadow Showdown. I had to look because it was going to frustrate me. But yeah, all of these shadows are approved. They can stay. Okay, let's talk about this palette. This is where I have my Frankenstein shades and my repanned Give Me Glow and my new Give Me Glow and my repanned JD Glow. Everything that's over here in this little section. Uh-oh, my cat is coming over. Hi, baby. Everything that's over here in this little section are the shades that I did swatch in that video, and these are the shades that I didn't swatch in that video, so I feel like I could probably give them a swatch today. I do plan on doing a better repanning of these in the new year, but some of these, like, the formulas are kind of old, and I haven't been reaching into them, and, like, do I still want to have them as an option? Those are the questions. Okay, these two I definitely want to keep. These were like the two heavy hitters from JD Glow. It was Good God. Yeah, I think this one was Good God, and this was it Unexplainable? Unbelievable? Unexplainable? Something like that. This purple, it's pretty, but I feel like I'd rather just have my 2 JD Glow heavy hitters. I have other purples I like more. This is pretty, but it's not like blowing me away, so I'm gonna declutter this. And then for these mixtures, in the video where I swatched like the rest of these, this one mixture was so impressive, and actually I will re-swatch that so we have that baseline. There was another mixture that wasn't impressive and I decluttered it. And I might have to like remix some of these too, because at least like this one's not even like enough to fill the pan. But let's just see if the idea of these is exciting enough. So this is the one that I already had swatched, and it's incredible. This one's a bit more subtle, but it is really sparkly. This one's a bit lighter, really sparkly. Yeah, all 4 of these are different, and the formula of them looks beautiful. So I think these all will stay. They'll make it into next year, and they will get repanned. You know what? The fact that she's sitting on those palettes doesn't make it harder to get those other palettes out. That is the one downside of her sitting on those palettes. Let's see if I can get one of them out. Can I get this one out? Ooh. All right. Okay, my other Hecate palette. Oh, interesting. These were the ones that I decided to keep from my work shadows. This is the neutral that I had used for most of them. It's ColourPop Labyrinth. I had answered a comment that was asking about the neutral that I used, and I know this one's not available anymore, but it is a really nice one. And then these shades, I'm not exactly sure why these are in here, but I am not positive about these shades. These 3 are from Chambé Estates: Dangerous, Mirkwood, and Intangible. These 2 were from a collab with Glam Smitty, and I remember them being really beautiful shades, but they are just like darker than I tend to reach for. So let's see. This is Dangerous, Mirkwood, Intangible. And they do look really nice. Yeah, I am gonna keep all 3 of these for today. Because even like Dangerous, it's pretty. It has like a pretty shine to it. And I don't have that many yellows. So I want to keep it for yellow looks. Alright, my cat might be in slightly a better position for me. Okay. Like taking candy from a baby. Just kidding, my cat is dangerous. Hi! Okay, this palette is all safe also. This is the palette that I have my Electrum shades that I just tested out and posted a video about, and I have Terra Moon shades that I had already gone through a while ago. Sorry for this close-up angle. Big palette and cat is close. So yeah, these are all safe. Okay, I moved my pile of palettes and my camera angle to try to get a little bit more surface space here, and I also gave her a little bit of food to distract her. It really is like living with a dragon. Okay, can I lean that? Okay. This palette. There's so many pretty shadows in this palette. Funny story, when I did my Lucy video, I would have moved these in there if I remembered, but these were actually put in this palette because, do you remember like a year and a half ago when Lucy closed and I did a silly intro to a video where I was trying to leave my Lucy shadows at the seashore, and I didn't want to bring all of my favorites to the water just in case something went horribly wrong. So I put some favorites into this palette to keep them safe. Funny little side story. Perhaps some of these purples up here, I'll do a little swatcheroo and see. These are Adept and Menagerie shades. Kind of running out of room over here. Yeah, you know, I think I do want to keep these for now. I really like the tone of this, the formula of this one. This is an Adept one. It's not the most exciting, but I like the color. And this Menagerie one, it has like a nice little like shift to it. Like it's purple with like a pink shift. Perhaps at some point I'll try that on my eye and I'll realize there's no way I actually want to wear it or there's something I like wearing more. But for the purposes of today, I want to keep it. And this one just looks really cool. It's okay, baby. Thank you so much. Okay, this palette is the Lucy palette that we had already gone through, and then a bunch of mattes from ColourPop and Menagerie that I had stuck in at the bottom, and I think these are all safe. I feel like I did a lot of swatching when it comes to those. So I think that means I need to find my final contenders for elimination in this palette. And this is the first palette that we started this series with, and lots of other things have ended up here, like the Dexter palette that I made earlier this year, the Pretties for Your Face order that I ice watched a couple weeks ago. I literally don't even remember where all of these came from, but I am seeing something to be decluttered. Down here I have this orange. This was from the Cleona Dragon Fruit palette, which was a collaboration with, was it Emily Rose Marie? I had received this as a gift with purchase. And the formula of this shade just doesn't really do much for me. I feel like if I had that palette, this would be a shade that I just wouldn't use that much. Because I have so many incredible oranges, I don't want a more lackluster orange in my collection. So I am going to declutter this. I mentioned in a recent video, I did recently get another gift with purchase from Cleona, and it was like a dark pink from the same palette. And I do like that one because I like the color of that more. Oh, uh-oh. Okay, I gave her a pile of food so I can stick my hands in front of her and not get bit, so I hope that's not weird or gross. There's one last shade from here that I'm going to declutter, the shade Luxe. And it's a really pretty, impressive shade that I'm sure other people, like, it could be a favorite for them, but I'm very particular with my iridescence. I love iridescence for my inner corner. And this one just always felt a little bit like too chunky and maybe even like too bold and also too yellow. Because as I said, I'm very particular with my yellow shimmers. I do have a specific look I like wearing this one with, but I think it would work just as well with Lightyear from Terra Moons. And I really don't want to keep this shade around for one look that I have done like twice and probably not for like a year. And for some reason, the shimmer in Lightyear, even though it's not too different from Luxe, I just like Lightyear better. I figured I could pull out Lightyear for comparison. The particle size in it just feels a little bit smaller, but they are similar. So I'm happy just keeping Lightyear and decluttering Luxe. And we are finishing off this video decluttering not 7, but 8. We have this Cleona Orange, which is Fruit Fizz, Nocturnal Wings from Copacetic, Adonis from Luxie, Cold Hearted from Luxie, Extra from Luxie, If You Know You Know from Luxie, this purple from JD Glow that I cannot remember the name of, and Luxe from Cleona, which means that I finished this declutter session with a total of 101 shadows. All right, let's switch back over to my face because I think she has more to say.
Is it cool if I just handle the outro? Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. I've been so excited about this series ever since I thought it up a couple months ago, and now that it's finally come to an end and 101 shadows have been decluttered, I'm so excited to head into 2026 with my new and improved eyeshadow collection. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for being with me on this journey, or I guess I should say being with us.
Good night, America, and stay sparkly out there.
Bye.
Hey, you got a piece of gum? Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it.
That's it?
Well, and then I have to change.
Okay.
Yeah. It's cold.
This is exclusive footage of hot vegan Hannah.
It's cold.
This is my burb. 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 Burb.
Barb.
Burb.
Barb.
Hey, can I roller skate with you?
This is my hunk of plastic. What do you have to say for yourself? All right.